And with that beautiful aerial footage of the last stage, starting city, Feldkirch, we are able to say welcome to all of you streaming in to the fifth and last stage of the Tour of Austria 2025. And I also want to say welcome back, Amelie Cooper, for the last stage. I'm happy to have you again here, and we are pretty much prepared for an incredible last stage with tons of meters in elevation gain, 3,388 and 144.1 K.
Well, thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. I'm really looking forward to the last stage today. I think we've got we're going to have a really good race on our hands here with, as you said, 144K, but still 3,400 meters of climbing. A very interesting final. It isn't an uphill final, but a flat final, so we're definitely going to see some good racing today.
So having the overview again over the start list, and as we were able to see it in the Tour of Austria Club yesterday, the Queen stage was an incredible one. It was an incredible show by all the athletes, and especially for sure by the team UAE Emirates XRG, which did an outstanding job to bring Isaac Del Toro into the red leaders jersey. And today it is going to be a deciding one for sure, but you say the jersey of Isaac Del Toro is,
Yeah, I think Isaac Del Toro's got his one hand on the jersey already. He's got a 29-second lead over Ryan Archie and a 47-second lead over Rafael Majka. And he's been looking very strong the last couple of days. And the whole UAE Team Emirates they've taken 4 out of 4 stages. So they've had a clean sweep so far. Let's see what their race plan is today, if they're going to let the breakaway go or let another team go for the stage win, or are they going to try and take a clean sweep of the whole Tour of Austria?
So now in the screen, Isaac Del Toro yesterday 4 seconds ahead of Archie Ryan. Unfortunately, Felix Großschartner, it wasn't his day yesterday. He hadn't had the legs to pretty much perform on that Queen stage, on the King stage. But he said it was a team decision to let those others go, and they shouldn't not concentrate on him anymore. They should just go and win that second last stage.
Yeah, I mean, fair play to Felix Großschartner. If you can feel that your legs are already tired and you're on a bad day and you've got to climb up to Kütai twice, then it's a fair decision to say go and race for yourselves. And they did it perfectly yesterday, UAE. And Ryan Archie also showed a very strong performance, coming in second with only 4 seconds behind. So maybe EF Education will try something today.
Maybe, we will see for sure. Archie did also pretty well yesterday, or not just pretty well, he was one of the top contenders towards Isaac Del Toro, and they were going up to the Kütai on the last 100 and 200 meters with Majka in front, Archie in a second, and Del Toro in the third place here. So having the pictures from earlier today, the team presentation, the very last team presentation of that 74th Tour of Austria. And again, it is good weather.
Yes.
We went away from Salzburg and up Austria, and we are here in Vorarlberg right now yesterday with the stage in Tyrol, and we have sun And throughout the day, the weather should be perfectly fine. 21 degrees so far at the start. And seeing the team Alpecin de Koenig.
Yeah, we also saw Andrew August lose a little bit of time yesterday for Agnes Grenadiers. He's now in 5th place, the 19-year-old, with a minute 47 gap. So I would reckon Agnes might try and keep their GC in the top 5, and they might try and go for the stage win today, as they're not fighting for the top 3 as it stands at the moment in GC.
Also here again, neutralized start out of Feldkirch. 100 years of Greater Feldkirch today, so also a big celebration is happening here in Vorarlberg. And now having the peloton from the early stages on. There was an attack there, but those three riders got caught pretty soon already. And we are on our way to the first real hard climb of today. It is going up to FURKAJOCH.
Yeah, incredibly tough climb at the beginning, like straight at the beginning, starting at 15k into the race. We've got a 20.5 kilometer long climb with 1,270 meters of elevation gain. So a tough one for the riders.
And is maxing out to 14.1%. And here also the sprint classification, which went to Rui Costa there. And as we can remember yesterday, he did also an amazing job there. Went alone up to the Kütai, then had to descend down to Ötztal, and we are right now back live here at the race with Anton Charming from Astana, Jaco Elula, Jul Jensen, and for sure also everywhere the signs go, Emmanuel, because the battle also for the mountain classification is still on. Yep. Nicolas Vinokurov just have a 2-point lead towards Emanuel Zangerle, but also Rafael Maika is someone to look at, because he is in fourth position here, and Isaac Del Toro also. That would be the first time ever that one team can secure all the jerseys here at the Tour of Austria.
Yeah, the KOM jersey is still up for grabs for the top 4 riders pretty much, because we've got 15 points at the top today. So the first climb of FURKAJOCH, we've got 15, 10, 8, 6 and 4 points up for grabs. So it's going to be a very interesting fight today for the points jersey, for the KOM jersey. The points jersey is on the Isaac Del Toro's shoulder at the moment with 52 points. And Felix Großschartner is in 2nd place with 35 points. So that jersey looks like it's staying in the UAE team at the moment.
So half an hour in.
Yeah, and it looks like the peloton's actually quite small already. It
is quite small already, but to compare that stage with that one yesterday, we had yesterday 3,500 meters of elevation gain, and today are just 100 meter in elevation gain less than yesterday. You also can say that one's going to be surely another queen stage here at the Tour of Austria, because if we talk vertical meter wise, it's nearly the same.
Yep. And it's tough because the climb's right at the beginning. Yesterday we had a bit of a flat section before we got onto the first Kütai ascent, and today it just ramps up straight away. So the riders will be very tired because it's already the 5th stage of this tour, and hopefully they warmed up well and yeah, they've got this tough old climb to get up.
Again, having the helicopter out there to capture that amazing last stage here. 5 stages in total, and in total 713 kilometers with more than 13,000 meters in elevation gain. And that stage is with the most meters to climb is that one and that one yesterday. So the organization and the route designers really let them suffer on the last 2 stages here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so they've got this first big climb up to FURKAJOCH, as I've mentioned before, the 20.5 kilometer climb. Then they've got a short descent, and then it ramps up again up to FASCHINA, a 1.8 kilometer climb with 130 vertical meters. Averages 7.4% and maxes out at the top at 16%. And this is a Cat 2 climb. There are 8, 6 and 4 points up for grabs here. And then we've got a longer descent with a couple of climbs along the way which aren't categorized. And then we've got a Cat 3 climb up to DÜNSERBERG, a 7.2k climb with 490 vertical meters, averaging 6.8% and maxing out at 13.8%. But we have got a flatter section at the beginning, so it's a steeper climb. It isn't really an average of 6.8%. It's more an average of 10% with a flat section in between.
Yeah, we already got a breakaway here by 3 riders. It is Bob Jungels. We can see there. We can see Luca Vergalito, and we also can see from EF Education, Easy Post, Sean Quinn. Those are the 3 who tried to do an early breakaway on that first pretty long climb up to. It's ramping really hard up on the beginning of the FURKAJOCH, and it is for sure 20.3k long, but it perfect conditions.
Yeah, amazing.
Sunny, no rain,
and beautiful road surfaces, as we can see here. Lovely aerial shots. And we also had an interview of Bob Jungels this morning that Ineos might fancy the stage today.
Yeah, they tried to present them for sure and wanted to keep the GC top 5 for AJ here at the Tour of Austria. So right now, seeing from the aerial, from the helicopter, another 2 riders are just closing the gap to the breakaway. And seeing that
their gap
peloton
is like at 25 seconds, I'd say, at the moment. So the peloton isn't letting the break go today. As we can see, the peloton's already split into 2. The team cars aren't behind the peloton yet, so I think there'll be quite a few riders strung along this climb today. And they'll be forming a gruppetto at the back, trying to get into the time limit of today.
UAE is there leading the peloton with Ineos. And here we have them, 87. Ricardo Zeudel is here in the breakaway. So 4 headstrong breakaway. Renko Vatvarix, EF Education, Ineos for sure, with Bob Jungels.
Yeah, and today we've got 3 World Tour teams in the breakaway. And the first couple of stages, it was always made up of Conti team riders. So looks like the teams want to take the stage on and don't want to let UAE have an easy day out there.
They are for sure going all in on that last stage. It will be also the first time ever in history that one team was able to win all 5 stages. We know the first stage went to Felix Großschartner, second, third and fourth stage to Isaac Del Toro, and the 5th stage is for sure up to grab, but there are some people having a huge problem with it, and I guess into direction of EF.
Yep.
Education with Archie Ryan. For sure he is one to bring that one home after yesterday's amazing performance.
So we have got the live stream open again. If anybody has got any questions, I'm looking at the live chat at the moment, and I'll try to answer the questions. So still 122k to go in this tough stage, only 37 minutes in.
We are in Laterns, and you can see the spectators for sure. It is actually Vorarlberg, it is the home for the team Vorarlberg, which presented themselves here at the Tour of Austria. An amazing performance. Colin Stüssi yesterday with a great performance, unfortunately having some issues. We were not quite sure if it was a mechanical or it was or he was cramping up, but also Alexander Konichev, Emanuel Zangerle for sure is up for grabbing that important KOM points to securing himself that dotted jersey.
Yeah, that would be incredible if Emanuel Zangerle could try and snatch that jersey, the KOM jersey.
That would be an amazing fairy tale when that can happen here on this last stage in his home region. And also don't forget Dani Geismeier, which had an outstanding breakaway at the 3rd stage going up to St. Johann Alpendorf. We can remember still good that it was like 7k in front of the finish. They got caught by the peloton, but still were able to get himself there in a top position.
Yeah, we've had some great racing where the Conti teams have really tried their luck in the breakaway, giving themselves the opportunity to try and go for the stage. But so far, UAE team have been very strong and have just been sitting on the front of the peloton, controlling the gap and then catching them just before the final. Made for some very interesting racing. But let's see what these 4 out in front can do today.
They're really, laying down the hammer here in the early stage of the race.
Yeah, their legs will for sure be very sore after yesterday, riding up to Kutai twice, especially up the second time up Ötztaler, up Heimia Sattler, Ötztaler Sattler. That's a steep climb, averaging 10%. And it's, even if you're just going up there slowly, it's a tough climb.
Now we are really in the mountain reaches. The founders of the team Vorarlberg, as we said, are really born here in Laterns, Thomas and Johannes Kofler, and that's why there a huge party going on in Laterns, cheering all those athletes on. Here we are in a little flatter part before it really ramps up to the max.
Yeah, yesterday it was great to see all the spectators up on Kutai. They also had a kids race before, and I think it was just great atmosphere up there. And great to see so many fans cheering on these athletes. It looks like it rained here in the morning. The roads are a little bit wet, but luckily there's no rain coming from the sky anymore.
Yeah, that is a good thing for sure here, and it is rewarding also for the athletes to race in proper weather conditions, not in that conditions we had already.
Yeah, these are perfect race conditions, like around 20-25 degrees when the sun's shining. Lovely.
Talking about race conditions, you also had a race yesterday. Just tell us a little bit how it went in Slovakia.
Yeah, it was a good race. We were in the breakaway, 3 riders from the team, me, Franziska Ehrenreich and Belinda Holzer. I struggled a tiny bit on the climb when the final attacks went, but I think in general we can be quite pleased with our result. And had a nice long travel back yesterday, but I'm glad to be back here commentating today.
And I'm more than happy to have you again here by my side as an expert. And as an expert, you also know that picture we've seen right now. There were Emanuel Zangerle, Nikolai Vinokurov in a 3-man strong chase group.
Yeah, so they're going to try and chase back onto the 4 riders out front. Bob Jungers, Luca Vergalito, Sanquin and Ricardo Zeudel. So if they make it to the front, it looks like they've got a 1:22 gap at the moment. We've still got quite a bit of this climb left, but there are big points up for grabs at the top. And Emanuel Zangerle will be chasing for those points.
2 points different.
Yeah. It looks like Rafael Maika isn't interested at the moment, nor is Isaac del Toro. But I think this fight will be between Emanuel Zangerle and Nikolai Vinokurov. (1:26). Yes, it looks like the peloton's happy with these riders going out front, but I'm pretty sure that they're not going to give them a big gap because we have got 3 World Tour riders up there, and yeah, the gap between the break and the peloton is 650 meters at the moment. And Emanuel Zangerle, he's just gotten away from the peloton, so he's starting the chase down to try and chase up to these 4 men out front. He's obviously noticed that they're strong out front, so he needs to be up there.
Horse category up to FURKAJOCH. As he said, 15 points to grab.
It's going to be an interesting battle.
For sure. We have still 2,735 meters of elevation gain to go. And as you can remember, we have 3,388 in total at that stage, going up all the way to the FURKAJOCH.
Yeah, and the riders out front aren't really a GC threat. The closest is the Alpes in the König rider, Luca Vergalito, with 4 minutes and 8 seconds behind Isaac del Toro. So UAE will be happy to give them a couple of minutes. They obviously won't give them over 4 minutes, but maybe they'll be able to get 1 or 2 minutes, and then it's pretty much down to UAE whether or not they want to go for the stage. And yeah, they'll decide that in the final, but we can see the team cars going up ahead now, so the gap is staying constant, and the chasers are 36 seconds behind the front of the race now, so they should make it back before the top.
There was also Team Jaco Elula. Christopher Juliensen. Also yesterday he was in a breakaway. And 23% of all elevation, all vertical meters are done.
Yeah, 840 vertical meters done so far out of the 3,300. So yeah, it's going to be a big day. But if these three riders, Tangele, Juliensen and Vinokurov, make it up to the front four, then we'll have a really strong breakaway with 7 riders, and they could make the race very interesting, I think, if they can somehow stay away.
Same picture as always. UAE pulling in the front or controlling the peloton or controlling the gap towards those 4 here. Zoidl, Quinn, Vergalito, Jungels.
So again, if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Great to see lots of Mexican fans. Looks like it's 3:30 in the morning there, so
yeah,
incredible.
3:30 in the morning, and all of them are watching.
Support Isaac del Toro.
Torito.
Maybe we'll be able to see a 4th stage win from him. It could definitely be a final that will suit him, because he's a very punchy rider, and the final is flat, but the riders will be very fatigued after 5 days of racing and after 3,400 meters of climbing. So the gap staying around 33 seconds. Chasers, the 3 chasers. So hopefully they'll make it up to the front of the race.
It is again a brutal mountain stage after yesterday, and they had a 2 hours long drive from Innsbruck to Feldkirch, which means sitting in the bus or in the car. After that, intense challenge we've seen yesterday, so the rehab or the recovery is a pretty crucial part in that last 2 stages. So you, as I said, as a pro, you knew everything about the recovery. What is the go-to tool for those athletes to get back on the saddle nearly 100%?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, especially what these World Tour riders can do, how quickly they can recover after these hard stages. It's really incredible. It's just crucial that when they get to the finish line, you can see them straight away. They're getting their recovery drink. It's normally a cherry drink. And then when they get back to the team bus, they'll be having a recovery shake with a lot of protein in it. And then it's also important to get back onto the bike on the rollers, just to spin the legs off, to try and get a bit of the lactate out of the legs, and then they'll shower off and get a proper meal, probably some rice with chicken or pasta. You know, you got to get the right balance of carbohydrates and proteins, because they're burning thousands of calories on these type of stages. And yeah, it's just crucial to keep the fueling up. And then they'll have the bus ride to the next hotel, and then they'll be having dinner again. And each of the riders will have a specific meal plan. A lot of the riders also weigh their foods so they get the correct amount. And yeah, but they're very well trained, and they've got great support around them in the team. It's quite incredible how quickly they can recover.
And we had the recovery right now. What is the perfect morning routine for those athletes, knowing that they have to go more than 3,000 meters in elevation gain and over 130 or 140k.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they get their evening meal in, then they'll all probably get a massage in the evening to try and recover their legs, and then they'll head straight to bed, because sleep is incredibly important in stage races and for recovery. So all these riders will be trying to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep each night. Then they'll be getting up in the morning and having their breakfast. Again, everything will be calculated how much they have to have for breakfast. They'll be having maybe porridge with banana. My go-to breakfast is porridge with banana and a scoop of Nutella on top. But yeah, they will be having their breakfast and then heading to the stage, and just before the stage they'll again be having a snack or an easy digestible snack, and yeah, and then it's race time. And then obviously on the bike, fueling, incredibly important. Keeping the carbs up, eating around 90 to 100 grams of carbs in liquid, so they'll be having a isotonic drink mix of lots of carbs in it, and also gels. Maybe at the beginning of the stage they'll be eating bars or rice cakes, and then towards the end they'll be having mainly gels and also caffeine gels for the last 30 minutes of the race.
Vinokurov here is shaking his legs there.
Yeah, he's sitting on the back a little bit. He looks maybe a tiny little bit fatigued, but they aren't gaining at the moment. Their gap's a minute 6 to the front, so they have actually lost around 30 seconds. So it looks like, I think the climb flattens out a tiny bit in the next 500 meters, so they'll be able to get a little bit of respite up here. But these 4 riders at the front are working really well together.
So we are also always a bit checking the Strava KOMs up there, and we just saw that the FURKAJOCH Totale, it is called 20k long, as we all know here, is done in 54 minutes and 46 seconds. And also we can find someone in their overall list who is also taking part here. Is one of the team Vorarlberg, Dani Geismeier.
Nicolas, you're leading the comp jersey. What will be the plan for today? Because all the continental teams said the plan is to go in the breakaway.
Yeah, obviously try to go in this breakaway, but be careful not to do too much on the flat section, and be able to take the points on the top of the big climb.
You think Isaac Del Toro will be a danger?
Sorry?
You think Isaac Del Toro will be dangerous for you?
Yeah, of course he's dangerous. He's really strong. If he wants, he takes the jersey from me, but we'll see the strategy. I think he will not go in the breakaway, so if I'm in the front, I can take the points. And yeah.
How did you like the Tour of Austria?
Yeah, it's actually a super good organization. I liked it so much, and I hope to bring this jersey home.
Thank you, Nicolas. All the best.
So Vinokurov pretty much knows what he is up there.
Yeah.
And also knows who is sitting in his back. Also trying to catch that a bit dotted jersey, KOM jersey here. Sean Quinn getting himself some fuels, and for sure they are again putting in some watts up there to the FURKAJOCH. And now seeing that one,
it looks like Christopher Juliensen
is up for something there, leaving Emanuel Zangerle and Nikolai Vinokurov.
Yeah, them two are sticking to each other like glue, because there is only 2 points between them. And let's have a look. Yeah, Juliensen isn't in the fight for the jersey, so he's trying to go for the stage here and try to make it up to the front. The gap is at 31 seconds, and we can see the team cars from the breakaway up ahead, so I don't think that minute was quite correct before. So we've got 30 seconds, so definitely doable to close that gap.
Seeing Helmut Dollinger here at the side of the road, coach of XDS Astana. And we are back with the leading four.
So we are over halfway of the climb. We've just completed a little flat section and we've got around, we've still got around 500 meters of climbing to do. And these four leaders can now look down and see the chasers. It'll be interesting if these four make it over the top. I reckon they'll rejoin and regroup before, but if they don't, if they'll wait, or will they try and stay away as four riders?
So approximately 7 to 8 kilometers to go. They're up to the FURKAJOCH. They are also on their way to regroup with Christopher Juhl Jensen.
We've got a couple of questions where Isaac del Toro is. He is being protected in the main peloton by his teammates. They'll just be pacing it up this climb and letting the fight ahead. Let them fight it out, maybe for the stage win, but I've got a feeling UAE wants to try and take all 5 stages of this Tour of Austria.
That would be the very first time for a team after 74 years of racing here in Austria, and it also would be the first time seeing someone waving the Mexican flag on the top of the podium here in Austria. That was also fun yesterday. We've seen a clip from the Tour de France where Tadej Pogačar asked his director sportif while racing, how did Austria go?
Yeah.
And they just said Del Toro wins, Maika in third. And then the next question was, and how is the Giro di Donna?
Yeah.
So also Tadej Pogačar is following that incredible Tour of Austria here, and for sure following his fellow teammates.
Yeah, Tadej Pogačar is obviously a great guy to have as your teammate. You can learn tons from him, and he'll probably also be Isaac del Toro's idol, and now they're teammates racing together. Also with a similar riding style, there was a clip of the Giro d'Italia where Isaac del Toro attacked this year, and there was a side shot and it looks just like Tadej Pogačar when he attacks. So that was quite cool to see.
And he was looking damn great yesterday when he was in the close-up. Long nasal breathing, and then in the end he used that momentum and started to pretty much go out of the saddle and sprint it out.
Yeah, he's got a great punch on him, Isaac del Toro. And he can also climb, so I reckon that's why today's stage will also be quite interesting if you'll be up there with on a flat sprint after all these vertical meters. They're already digging deep back here, aren't they? Emanuel Zangele and Nikola Vinokurov from Team Astana and Team Vorarlberg.
But aren't able to close the gap to Christopher Juhl Jensen from Jaco Elula. But as you can see, the pace is pretty high here. Yeah. Cadence is high.
Yeah, that's another crucial thing in stage races, is to try and keep the cadence as high as possible. So riders will be riding maybe 90, 95 average on the stage, because that also just helps circulation of the muscles in your legs and tries to keep the lactate as low as possible. Because if these riders are grinding up the climbs with 50 to 60 RPMs, then their legs will get fatigued very quickly, as you can see on the front here. Very nice riding styles from all these riders.
Bob Jungels from Ineos. And already nearly a minute gap between the leaders and the chase group.
Yeah, I think that chase group might be the peloton, and I think they'll still be around the 30 seconds.
Yeah, Jules Jensen 22 seconds, and Nicolas Vinokourov and Emanuel Zangale are already 1 minute free, and Jules Jensen had 51 seconds. And the peloton is 1 minute 45 behind. But they're already putting out some serious work here in the early stage of the race there. Trying to use that spicy climb to produce a bigger gap to the peloton. We already know the biggest gap we had here at the Tour of Austria was 3 minutes and 30 at the second stage.
Yep.
And now they're also trying to work their way up there to get a comfortable gap, and a 4-man strong leading group is kind of a perfect size of it, I guess.
Yeah, a great size, because the problem is when the breakaway gets too big, when it gets to 12, 14 riders, then if 1 or 2 riders miss their turn, then the whole dynamic of the front brake kind of stops, and it sometimes doesn't work out quite as well. So 4 riders is obviously tough with 110k still to go, but at the moment they're looking good. It'll be interesting to see if Jules Jensen, Vinokourov and Zangale will be able to make it to the front. And here, we've got a minute to the front, gap. And the peloton is 2 minutes and 5 behind. So the 4 leaders have got a 2-minute lead, and Emanuel Zangale and Nicolas Vinokourov have now rejoined with Christopher Jules Jensen. So this is a HC categorized climb. So
the highest one.
The highest one, and the first 5 riders get the points, or get points. So these 3 riders will be fighting out for the last 4 points up for grabs. So if Emanuel Zangale managed to get those 4 points, he'll be in the virtual lead of the KOM jersey. And then we've got a Cat 1 climb at 80k into the race, and here again we have 12, 8, 6, 4 and 2 points up for grabs. So if these 4 riders stay out ahead, they'll take the first 4 points on the FURKAJOCH. On FASCHINA, it's a Cat 2 climb. There are only 8, 6 and 4 points up for grabs. But if these 4 riders stay away and the 3 chasers also stay away from the peloton, it will be a big fight up the DÜNSERBEG. If Emanuel Zangale managed to get the points up the FURKAJOCH, then
DÜNSERBEG also category 1 climb, which means 12 points are there. 7.2k long, 490 meters in elevation gain, and maxing out to 13.8%. But in the second part of it, after 3k, somewhere is the steepest part of that climb up to DÜNSERBERG. We are here right now up to FURKAJOCH, and it is 4k approximately to go there.
Yeah, Nikolai Vinokurov just having a little look over his shoulder, seeing how Emanuel Zangler is looking. He is rocking a little bit with his upper body, so he's definitely working quite hard here on this climb. And the question is, will Nikolai Vinokurov take this opportunity and try and go for these points here? Because if he does manage to get these 4 points, then he secures the jersey. Nikolai Vinokurov. And if Emanuel Zangler gets these points, then he will be 2 points ahead. Then it will be a fight for the last Cat 3 climb, DÜNSERBERG.
And that would be a heartbeat final between those two. And they are not playing any games here anymore, because it is the jersey that is up for grab there.
Yeah, no Tyrol KTM in the break yet today. It'll be interesting if maybe Marco Schrettl will want to try something later on in the stage. The young Austrian rider. Yeah, beautiful Austrian roads here. I love seeing these type of climbs where it's just open roads, sun shining. Great to ride on.
I hope they also can a bit enjoy the beautiful scenery. Jensen Blowright yesterday said in the interview, it is not his section right now anymore on the mountains, but he will enjoy for sure the scenic ride there and trying to get into the finish. And we've seen him, he is also here again, part of the tour. $109.3k to go.
I think we've got around 250 meters elevation gain left on this climb up to FURKAJOCH. These 4 riders up front probably won't be contending the KOM points, because neither of them can get the jersey anymore. They'll just try to get over this climb, then they've got a descent, and then we've got the next category 2 climb up to FASCHINA, a 1.8k climb, averaging 7.4%. So Bob Jungers is the national time trial champion from 2025 from Luxembourg. So it will be interesting if he can, I don't know, maybe make it over the climbs and try and go on a solo mission. But I got a feeling UAE have got a plan behind, and we'll be keeping them on a short leash and then slowly reel them back in as we get towards the final.
We just heard it in the radio. UAE is pulling in the peloton, and we can also see the devil here. Sean Quinn from EF Education, and we have the last 1,000 meters of the KOM, which means the first hard climb is soon done, and then it is going down, as he said, towards FASCHINA with another little climb, 1.5k, and then we have a long descent from approximately 10k, and then it starts to get hilly one more time.
So lots of Isaac Del Toro fans here in our live chat. Again, if anybody has any questions, we are here. We've still got 108 kilometers of racing to go. I think we'll have some great racing.
And Amelie is for sure happy to answer every question you have. And here we have the picture of the FURKAJOCH. Again, a lot of people up there cheering for those heroes of today. Also, Fabian said yesterday he will be somewhere up there to find and watching for sure his two flatmates, Emanuel Zangerle and Felix Engelhardt.
Okay, so we've got 1 kilometer to go to the top of the FURKAJOCH. So the 3 riders, Juliensen, Vinokurov and Zangerle, probably won't make it back in time for the KOM points. So it'll be a very interesting fight between Vinokurov and Zangerle. Or maybe Juliensen will try and take it from them and keep the fight alive for the final, for the final climb, the final Cat 1 climb, DÜNSERBERG.
It is the first time that we are seeing the FURKAJOCH being climbed up in race mode ever, and yeah, it is a bit of a connection between those two valleys.
So Fabian asked how my race was yesterday. Thank you very much for asking. It was a good day. We were out in the breakaway with the team, got some good race experience in a UCI race, and a teammate Belinda Holzer came 5th, and me and Franziska Ehrenreich came 7th and 8th place. So quite a good day out in Slovakia for us. So a question from Belinda Holzer. What about the KOM? Who's leading, and are they going to get it? So at the moment, Nicolas Vinokurov is leading the KOM points, and he has got 38 points. Emanuel Zangerle is in 2nd place with 36. We are coming up to the top of the FURKAJOCH at the moment, and these 4 riders will be getting the first 15, 10, 8 and 6 points, which are up for grabs. The 3 riders behind, Christopher Juliensen, Nicolas Vinokurov and Emanuel Zangerle, are chasing. And I think this will be an interesting fight. Who is going to get these 4 points? If Nicolas Vinokurov manages to secure the 4 points, then he also secures the KOM jersey. If Emanuel Zangerle managed to secure these 4 points, then the fight is still open and the jersey is still up for grabs.
So that means he has a 2-point lead then towards Nicolas Vinokurov, and now we have an attack by Ricardo Zeudel, grabbing those 15 points here at the FURKAJOCH. And here we have...
Yep. Now they're all putting their jackets on, so it must be around maybe 15 degrees up there. But when you're working hard... Okay, now the fight is on for the points behind. Who is going to launch their attack first? Will it be Emanuel Zangerle or Nicolas Vinokurov?
Emanuel out of the saddle. Jul Jensen looking back. And Vinokurov just sitting in and waiting. 4 points are still up for grab there.
Yep, and Emanuel Zangele is 2 points behind.
Oh, there it is time. Vinokurov and Emanuel Zangele is...
They are both fighting it out. They're side by side. Nicholas Vinokurov's looking very strong.
But it is a long one. Wow. It is still long.
They're going very long here.
Oh, that is a long sprint for them.
Have they gone too early? Now and Emanuel Zangele is sitting down again.
Come on.
They are glued together. They are not separating here, but Nicholas
Vinokurov
managed to crack Emanuel Zangele. And Nicholas Vinokurov looks like he is going to be securing these 4 points up here. And he has now also secured the KOM jersey. Unless they manage to make it back to the front today, to the front four, then the fight might still be on. But that was an incredible sprint just then from the Astana rider.
And look how far or how big the gap is there between Vinokurov and Zangele.
He properly cracked Zangele just then, him grinding over the top right now. He's now got a little bit of a descent to try and recover, and here we can see the peloton with UAE on the front, setting quite a high tempo as it looks, as some riders are dropping off the back and struggling to stay in contact with the main group.
So Teudel with 15 points, Jungels 10, Quinn 8, Vergalito 6, and Vinokurov 4 points, which brings Nicholas Vinokurov in a comfortable lead of 42 points already. So he is right now 6 points ahead of Emanuel Zangele.
The fight isn't over yet for the jersey. If these three riders manage to make it back up to the front of the race, then the fight is back on. So now the peloton have also completed the first climb of the day, FURKAJOCH, the longest climb of the day. And now they've all got a descent and then a little Cat 2 climb up to FASCHINA, a 1.5k at 8.5% gradient.
High speed downhill here again. Yesterday we've seen top speed by 105 kilometers per hour, and we are back with the top 4 here. Jungels, Vergalito, Quinn and Teudel. Welcome also to Unibet, Tietima Rocket here in our live chat. Cool to see you guys also streaming into and watching
that
very final
cool
stage.
To see a team in our live chat. So the roads are a tiny bit wet here, so the riders will have to be a bit careful on the descent, not to go all out and slip out in a corner, but they have all got enough experience, and the team cars behind, I'm sure, will be telling them to ride carefully and not go all in on the first descent of the day.
We're up to FASCHINA then. It's 1,486 meters above sea level, and it is a crucial pass connecting different valleys here in Vorarlberg. Also UNESCO recognition, the big Walser Valley. It's a biosphere reverse, UNESCO World Heritage, and here Nicholas Vinokurov on his own.
So the question is he going to wait for the two riders behind, or is he going to try and breach the gap to the front?
Kader Zeudel fighting his way back, had a little time at the supporter car, swapping bottles. As you can see here, beautiful alpine region. .3 meters of fresh snow each season here in Damüls. That's quite a lot.
That's quite a lot. Great for skiing around in Austria as well. Yeah, it's just taking a little bit cautiously, Ricardo Zeudel. And just slightly losing contact with the front three riders. Oh, yeah, okay. But he should hopefully make it back to the front leaders.
Baptiste Houillet from Unibet Tietema Rockets yesterday was also up for a fight up to the Kütai, but unfortunately there was someone faster, Rui Costa, but the downhill then to Ötz. Baptiste Houillet with Colin Stussy together and tried to catch Rui Costa.
Yeah, the best rider placed in the GC from the Unibet Tietema Rockets is in 13th place. Kilian Verschuren, 5 minutes 27 behind. So they could maybe aim for a top 10 place. The 22-year-old.
It looks doable.
10th place is Felix Großstadtner with 3 minutes 18. So it's got a 2-minute gap to close. So it'll be interesting. Maybe Unibet will try to go for a top 10 in GC.
And had seen Vinokurov is back with Jules Jensen and Emanuel Zangerle. Here we have all four together again, going towards FASCHINA. They are in the very...
Also interesting, Nicholas Vinokurov, has he got his wind vest on?
Yeah, in a wrong way.
The wrong way around, I think, right? Yeah, maybe he didn't have time to shut the zip at the top, and he's now just put it on the wrong way around.
Now with...
So I've got a question here. How do we see the breakaway of today? I think it might be one of the strongest breakaways we've had in this Tour of Austria, with 3 World Tour riders. But there are only 4 riders in this breakaway with 3 chasers, but they haven't managed to breach the gap just yet. We've still got just under 100 kilometers to go. So I think it's pretty much down to UAE if what their ambitions are of today's stage. If they want to go for the stage, then they'll just be keeping this break on a 2-minute gap, and we'll then start to slowly bring them back as we hit the second category climb of the day up to FASCHINA.
It's a 1.5k long climb with 8.5% in average, maxing out to 16%, but it is probably the early stage of that climb after It is at the end, at the very end of FASCHINA, it is maxing out to 16%. Here, Zangale and Jul Jensen at the bottom of the KOM without Vinokurov.
Yep. So
not to be seen here.
He has obviously been distanced on the descent. That's an interesting one. But the gap, I think, to the front four riders is still around a minute, so it'll be a tough task to try and breach this gap on this 1K climb. I think the peloton is around 2 minutes behind these 4 leading riders. We haven't got a time gap just yet, but my live stats indicate around 2 minutes.
And it is a category 2 climb, which gives 8, 6 and 4 points. Also not a deciding one for Emanuel Zangale. He really needs then the category 1 climb coming up. Around 80k in the race at Dünserberg.
Sorry, I need to correct. I think I said FASCHINA before. It's called FASCHINA.
FASCHINA, yeah.
But we are on the climb, and we are only a couple of 100 meters away from the top of the KOM points. Maybe Ricardo Teudel will try and get the maximum of 8 points up for grabs.
And now Vinokurov is back with rejoined again with Jul Jensen and Zangale.
And there in the background we can see the peloton.
Yeah, there they are.
Okay, so the gap isn't... Either it isn't 2 minutes, or these 3 chasers have lost a little bit of time towards the front 4.
.8, 7.4% average here up to Fontanella FASCHINA. Also well known for its skiing. And we have 100 meters now to reach the KOM, which probably is Bob Jungels up to, or Sean Quinn.
So it looks like
Bob Jungels.
Yep, they're not really interested in these KOM
they just
points.
go over it and...
Yep, they're just going to roll over and get to the onto the descent. It's actually quite a long descent, 10k.
10k long descent.
It's always around 10%, so minus 10%. So it's a proper descent where they'll be able to recover, refuel, and get ready for the next little kicker they've got coming up. It's around 200 to 300 meters the next climb. Not categorized, but still a climb. That hurts. And there are no points left up for grab for these 3 riders here. The last opportunity is the next category climb at
Dünserberg.
80.7k into the race. Dünserberg, nearly 500 meters elevation gain here, averaging 6.8%, but that's not the whole story because there is a flat section in the middle of the climb where the rest of the climb is around 10 to 11%, but the average obviously drops when there's a flat section in the climb. So
Nikolai and Emanuel Zangale are chatting here on the climb up to FASCHINA.
Yeah, I think if you look back and you can see the peloton breathing down your neck, then you already know that you're going to get caught, I think, maybe. Maybe they've accepted defeat. And they're getting cheered on by the fans.
Yeah, and then they're also getting cheered on by the moto.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the moto.
So now these 3 riders have also reached the top of the FASCHINA climb.
But without any points to grab. 100 meters to go.
Yeah, so if Emanuel Zangler wants to get the KOM jersey, then he will have to come over the top of the next climb in 1st or 2nd place, and Nikolai Vinochourou isn't allowed to get any points. So a bit of a tough task. But you never know what could happen.
You never know.
Never know.
Racing is unpredictable.
And the peloton has also reached the top. You can see Isaac Del Toro then. And they're all maybe got a wind vest on or a gilet, just to keep them warm on the descent.
And those 2 are already in.
Yeah, it looks like Ricardo Zoll has been distanced again, and Bob Jungers, I can't quite identify where he is. Is he up the road or is... Yeah, I think that's Bob.
He is up the road, Bob Jungers.
Bob Jungers is...
And it's followed by Luca Vergalotti. And here again, now he's speeding up to reach Bob Jungers.
Yeah, it's quite scary in these type of races. Just last week when we had our race, our sports director was saying that he was following us in the car and he was driving at 100 kilometers an hour, and there was a rider in the draft of the car. So a little bit scary sometimes, these descents. Also the sports directors have to be very aware when they're driving their cars, aware of their surroundings, and yeah, it's not easy. For the riders or the drivers.
2 minutes and 43, the gap, I guess.
Yep, and I think these Christopher Juhl Jensen, Nicolas Vinokourov and Emanuel Zangler will probably be caught soon by the peloton. But interested to see Bob Jungers go off the front here. He's either, I don't quite know if he's attacked or is he just a better descender than the others. But on the previous descent, they were together. The 3 riders, Bob Jungers, Luca Vergalotti and Cinquin.
Luca Vergalito.
Vergalito, yeah, I'm very sorry for my pronunciations of the names. Not my strong point.
Here with Patrick Conrad, Lidl track, number 44. No, Martin Pedersen, sorry. Martin Pedersen from Lidl track here at the end of the peloton. Also the peloton is stretched along here in the descent. Descent is tricky and wet, as you can see here in the hairpin turns there coming up. $92.1K to go, Amelie. And tons of meters in elevation gain are waiting for the athletes, and to be nearly correct with them, there are 1,841 meters to go.
Yeah, still a lot of racing to go. The estimated time of arrival is around 2 o'clock, 2:30, depending on the average speed. As we can just see a Coupe Rapsol rider rejoining the peloton here.
Magnus Wehre.
Yeah, definitely very tricky conditions when we can see here the Alpecin and EF have rejoined. Yep. So Bob Jungers, Luca Vergalito and Sinquin are back together at the front of the race. Ricardo Zeudel isn't in the frame at the moment. Maybe he's just riding behind the motor. But yeah, as I was saying, the descents are pretty tricky and a little bit scary when you've got wet patches on the road. You never know when they're going to come. When you go through the forest, it's a little bit darker, and then you suddenly got a wet patch and it's quite slippy. But we can see Emmanuel Zangele hasn't been caught yet by the peloton.
Still out there, pushing hard. Maybe trying to close the gap, but that is a huge gap of 2 minutes and 34 seconds. Peloton already 3 minutes and 32 seconds behind the chasers, behind the leaders, which seems to be quite big, as we can remember the pictures from before when they entered the KOM at FASCHINA.
Oh,
that was close here.
That was close, but
staying
well.
in the turn. Holy smokes, that could end pretty badly there.
Okay, so it'd be interesting to see where Ricardo Zeudel has gone. Is he just behind these riders? He did get a little bit distance on the previous descent, so maybe it's not quite as confident in his descending skills as the other three riders.
95, and we are already at the end of that downhill, starting towards another uphill, a little uphill for about 1k or 1 or 2k, and then another downhill before we're about to start that DÜNSERBEG category 1 climb.
I've got a very interesting statistic just popped up here on my screen. Julius Johansson from the UAE Team Emirates has done 7,500 kilometers of racing this season.
Yeah, also Filippo Baroncini from UAE Team Emirates.
That's quite incredible. If you think about it, 7,500, and that's just pure racing. And it's July, so yeah, quite incredible statistics. His first race was on the 21st of January, Tour Down Under, so their season starts pretty early for the pros.
Oh, Emmanuel Zangele is putting in those watts in the downhill. Hammering down, head in, aerodynamic position.
Yeah, he's looking good on the bike. It looks like Ricardo Zeudel has got around 10-second gap between the front three leaders. I'm not quite sure what the gap is here, but according to the time, 2 minutes 30, so.
Yeah, he for sure knows pretty much every turn down there.
Yeah, for sure.
Coming from Vorarlberg, training in Vorarlberg, and those three, Jungels, Vergalito and Cohen, are again up to that little mountain.
So again, if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to ask us. We've got a whole 86 kilometers of racing still to go, so plenty of time to answer any questions. And these front three riders have made it onto the next little climb. Bob Jungels, Luca Vergalito and Senquin.
Here we are again with Emanuel Zangerle on his own right now, trying to reach the gap between him and the four athletes in the break. It is going to be an intense one, especially when you know that there's someone in your back trying to chase you down, even though it's more than a minute and 10 between him and the peloton.
Yeah.
But still,
it's not a nice
UAE
feeling.
starts again hammering, here it is going to be a tough one. But those in the break have 3 minutes. Oh, Ricardo Zeudel is back.
He is
back in the break.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ricardo Zeudel is regaining contact with the front three riders. A bit annoying maybe as a rider when you lose contact with the group on the descent, and then you gotta put in a bigger effort to try and make it back, but at least he's made it back now. And here again we can see a couple of riders trying to get back onto the peloton.
That is Pedersen from Lidl Trek and from ATT, Philipp Reha.
Yeah, look how stretched out the peloton is. So, yeah, single file.
Huh.
That means the pace is high in the peloton.
We have right now, yeah, due to the fact that we had a spicy downhill, but still 34 average speed here. 58.1 k to go and 68 to go and 58 done.
Yeah. So the weather today is luckily dry. We're got around 20-25 degrees today. At the top of FURKAJOCH, I think it would have been a little bit colder, maybe around 15 degrees, as we are at altitude. FURKAJOCH is at around 1,750 meters. So a little bit cooler up there, but we're back down at 800 meters here.
Yeah, and we stay in that region, something like that. DÜNSERBERG is again over 1,000 meters above sea level. That's the last time we are going over 1,000. 3 minutes and 10 in total here, and Emanuel Zangerle on his own right now. Having his son is on the back. And you can see it. It is.
I think he's done.
He is done. He is done. He did an incredible job all along the tour. Unfortunately, weren't able to keep that dotted jersey, but it is not done yet. Maybe he can regain there some strength. That would be amazing for him, and especially for Team Vorarlberg at the home stage there, at the last stage of the Tour of Austria. Bringing that KOM jersey home into the team headquarters.
Yeah, but I think if a rider already signals that into the camera that they're gone, it normally means they're done for the day. Maybe he'll surprise us, but we can see a Team KTM today for the first time in the peloton.
Samuel Novak, Jaco Elula also somewhere in the middle of the peloton to find, and still up front in the peloton it is Team UAE pulling.
Yep, just keeping everything under control for their leader, Isaac Del Toro.
Here we have and also again Julius Johansen in the left part of the screen. in leading duty.
And also Felix Großschartner wearing the best Austrian jersey. And there at the front, the orange jersey. The whole UAE team is at the front at the moment.
Yeah, also Isaac Del Toro in the red.
You can see him there on the
Rafael
left.
Majka in the Polish national champion jersey, also between Großschartner and Del Toro.
Yeah, they're looking very relaxed there, Isaac Del Toro. And then EF Education and J.K. Lula are next two teams in this peloton.
So Alessandro Corvi was there in front.
Bob Junger is just getting rid of his jacket and getting a new bottle. So they have got a nice gap now, 3 minutes 14. And they're working very well together as they're heading on to the final part of this little climb.
84k to go, and 84k of beautiful cycling sport provided here to us.
Beautiful views in Austria.
Spicy uphills for sure also there.
That for sure, yep. Yes, we've got after this little climb, we've got another descent around 5 kilometers, 5-6 kilometers, and then we slowly hit the slopes of Dünserberg, the 7.2k climb. And then after that, we've got another intermediate sprint. But that won't really play a role today because the points jersey is pretty much decided with Isaac Del Toro.
And he just catch that point always while sprinting towards the finish line.
Yeah. Trying to listen what they're saying. Couldn't quite identify what they're saying then. But they'll pretty much just be telling the riders to keep fueling and pacing themselves and not to go too deep because we've still got around 2 hours of racing to go, which is a long time at the end of a 5-day stage race.
Looking onto the profile one more time. They are up, nearly up that climb.
Yeah, we've done 60 kilometers of racing so far and 84 to go, so we're not quite halfway yet. But we've done 1,700 meters of elevation. So
are in
almost halfway.
Yeah, they are right now in Ragal. It's called, but still having a comfortable lead of 3 minutes and 23 seconds. So
yeah,
do a little bit of a prediction of the race. Is it a gap which is for them usable to bring it home in the break group, or in your opinion or in your expertise, are they going to be caught probably somewhere where around Feldkirch again, where we're coming to the intermediate?
I think they'll definitely make it to Feldkirch, and I don't know, we have got 4 strong riders up the road here, 3 being World Tour riders, and if they work well together and they haven't gone over the limit too much too early, then we might have a very interesting finish today. But there are some flatter sections towards the end of the race where the numbers of UAE will just be a huge advantage, and the big powerhouse might be able to close this gap quite quickly. But at the moment, it's looking good for the breakaway. But a lot can happen in 80K.
Can happen, and especially when UAE is in charge of trying to close that gap. Julius Johansen in second position here, still with the arrow bar. Didn't quite swapped his bike often in the Tour of Austria. Also Felix Großschartner here up front here. Hopefully he's got better legs today than he had yesterday. He said it early in the interview. It wasn't his day, but he's happy that the team put in great effort again and brought home that Queen stage win.
We've got a little
attack
right
there from Jaco. Not attack, not attack.
Having a little comfort break stop here. I thought that was a little bit odd for them to be attacking. But,
yeah.
But Jaco Lula is one of the teams who have missed the break. Because we've got Ainius up there, EF Education, Alpecin, so we haven't got likes of Lidl Trek, UAE obviously.
Team Vorarlberg also is here somewhere to find up front.
Yeah.
They are in the downhill again. Not that long.
Yeah, around 5 kilometers. Then we've got another little climb of around 100 meters. Another little descent, and then we hit the slopes.
To Dünserberg, 5.7k, 7.2 in average, and 30.8, maxing out the last hard task for the athletes of the Tour of Austria 2025. It is the 74th edition. Next year it is a huge birthday tour, 75th edition since 1949. It is always red marked in the cycling schedule for many teams. And it is also great to see the last Austrian overall winner of the Tour of Austria here in the break with Ricardo Zeudel. 2013 it was, 2013 it was, where he were able to crown himself as GC winner of the Tour.
Feldkirch dreht am Rad und hat sich rausgeputzt, die Trikots hängen draußen. Wir sind auf den finalen Metern der diesjährigen Tour of Austria. Es gibt eine 90-Grad-Kurve, dann circa 50 Meter, dann folgt die zweite und letzte 90-Grad-Kurve und dann kommen wirklich die letzten Meter für einen fulminanten Zielsprint. Dann wissen wir, wer der Sieger der 5. Etappe ist bei dieser Tour of Austria und auch der Gesamtführende.
So Ricardo Zeudel's doing a good job this time staying in the peloton. Definitely help him save a little bit of energy if he can keep in this front group and not drop off on the descent. So Manuel Zangele has been caught by the peloton. So we have got these 4 riders: Bob Jungers, Luca Vergalito, Sanquin and Ricardo Zeudel out front. Then followed by the peloton, which is around 3 minutes 20 behind. These riders have got 1,500 meters of elevation to go and 82 kilometers. So they're pretty much halfway or over halfway on the elevation or on the climbing meters of today's stage. And as we said before, we've got one climb coming up soon, and then an intermediate sprint when we pass through Feldkirch for the first time today, and then we head on to the final loop of today's stage.
KTM, the Tyrol KTM team here in the back of the peloton in that downhill section. We are also soon hitting the halfway point distance-wise.
Yeah, sun's come out now. The roads are dry, so
75k to go in total. We have
a very fast runner there on the right. I'm trying to keep up with the riders.
Sprinting them out. In total 144.1k. Now it is not the start of the KOM yet. It is a little pre-test to go up to DÜNSERBERG. It is the smallest municipal here in Austria. Just 149 people are living up there. Not that much people living in DÜNSERBERG. Probably all of them are somewhere next to the road, cheering for the athletes, especially for the athletes from Team Vorarlberg. And those four still maintaining the gap of 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Sean Quinn is...
Well, now the motorbike rider is getting his board out, so it'll be interesting to see what information the riders will be getting now. Should be the time gap as we just go through... Yeah,
3 minutes
35. So, a good gap. And they are only 33 seconds away from Lukas Lukas going into the virtual GC lead. So Lukas
Vergalito
is
from Italy is current
seconds away from the virtual GC. So they definitely won't get much more time, I don't think. UAE will be on the front now, keeping this gap under control. So yesterday we had an incredible Queen stage, I would say, of the Tour of Austria.
It was amazing up there. Tons of people, same atmosphere like we see here at that last stage. You can hear it. It is quite loud. They're cheering them on. Always somewhere, some hot spots to find. Three minutes and 35 seconds. Ricardo Teudl looking good on the bike. Sean Quinn out of the saddle. And Lukas Vergalito from Alpecin de Koenig glued to the back wheel of Bob Jungels from Ineos Grenadiers here up to or towards DÜNSERBERG.
So this is the biggest gap I think we've had so far in the Tour of Austria this year.
Yeah, it is the biggest gap. The also kind of similar gap we had at the stage 1 with 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Not more, but here we have Johansen again in leading work. Like yesterday, he is in charge for pulling the peloton in towards the break.
Lovely to see the little kids out as well with their signs, cheering on the riders. Hopefully they'll get a little, maybe a bidon or two from the riders.
Yesterday we've seen also tons of nets along the track where the kids tried to catch the bidons. We're in the feeding zone, kind of in the supporter zone. Now it is a crucial part for them to get fueled in, to get everything they need, because we're about to start category 1 climb up to DÜNSERBERG. And again, to remember, 5.7k, it is long. And I tried also to look for some KOMs there from Strava, but not. No, I wasn't able to find some in total. But now the gap is shrinking. 3 minutes and 13 seconds here.
Yeah, UAE on the front, setting a high tempo, getting cheered on here. Austrian fans.
Here, ex-DS Astana, Daniil Marukin. And Emanuel Zangerle, Team Vorarlberg.
Yeah, he can hopefully just enjoy the ride as much as possible now to the finish. He tried everything, but
yeah,
he's enjoying himself, I think.
He's enjoying it. Racing in front of home crowd. Maybe we can hear something from him. There, huh? And Johansen again, making incredible effort. Not just for his teammates, also for all.
So we've got UAE at the front, motoring up this climb here. Isaac Del Toro is in the group, as we can just see Emanuel Zanger dropping off the back here, but enjoying himself. He had a great tour of Austria. Tried to go for the KOM jersey, just missed out on it today, but I think he can be very pleased with how he's ridden the tour of Austria. As we can see, Isaac Del Toro just getting a bidon from the side of the road.
And also Julius Johansen. I'm a bit of a fan of Johansen, because throughout all stages we've seen so far, he is always somewhere to find up front, doing incredible work here.
Yeah, you can properly see how the peloton is being stretched out now and how riders are dropping off. So they've properly got the hammer on now. It will be very interesting to see how quickly this gap is going to come down. Now we are on the little descent before we hit the bottom ramps of the DÜNSERBERG. These riders at the front should probably just work together, not attack each other, because they need to keep together if they want to hold this peloton off, because they have got the hammer on at the moment.
And then we are coming towards Feldkirch again for the first finish go through with a sprint classification in it. Then straight towards Nenzing. And then back to Feldkirch for the grand finale.
But still 70k of racing to go.
2 hours and 7 minutes in the race, and still having a 4-man strong break out there with a 3 minutes and 33 seconds gap between them and the peloton. And as you can see here, they're working properly well together, rotating smoothly. And having always Vittoria as a neutral supporter car next to them, providing them with biddens and so on. 4 minutes and 18, it says here up on the screen.
Yeah, if that time is correct, but yeah. Oh, it's dropped down to 3 minutes now again. So
3 minutes again, and we are at the very start of the last mountain classification of the Tour of Austria. KOM DÜNSERBERG, 7.2k. 6.8% average, maxing out to 13.8 then. And that one's coming up pretty soon, actually, after 2.5 kilometers. We are about to start with that steepest part of the DÜNSERBERG.
This is the last category climb of the day, but we have still got 3 or 4 climbs to go. And they may only be a couple of 100 meters in elevation, but they really hurt. After 5 days of racing and already having over 2,500 meters in their legs will be burning today. So I think we've got a very interesting final to look forward to here.
So right now they are already having 11,800 meters of elevation gain in their legs so far, through all the stages, and we are about to hit the last 1,300 meters of elevation gain to go on that last and final stage of the Tour of Austria, and we are still 68.9k away from the finish. Having again the aerial footage, and I wonder when we are about to see the peloton racing down there.
But lovely
on
shots
the street
from above here. The nice, beautiful Austrian roads riding through the fields in sunshine. Couldn't ask for much more, really.
No, not. Beautiful pictures, amazing scenery, and there was also a moto racing down, so which indicates that the peloton isn't that far away anymore, but. You know, we are in a climb, and those guys got a gap of 3 minutes and something here up to DÜNSERBERG, and up there another 12 points are to grab.
Yep, but the KOM jersey, I think, has already been decided. So I don't think these 4 riders up front will really be battling it out for the points. Yeah, I think the peloton is around 3 minutes. You can just see them at the top of the picture on the beautiful twisting and turning roads in Austria. And yeah, that gap looks around 3 minutes because it is on a climb. And the peloton has definitely thinned down. So UAE have definitely putting the pressure on from behind.
And to compare the speed of the break and the peloton, you can see also here in pictures that they are pretty much in the red zone here, trying to close that gap up to Jungels, Zeudel, Quinn and Vergalito. But still the cadence is in a beautiful rhythm here of all 4 in the break. There's no hesitation, for sure not.
No, they want to work well together now. They've been in the break since the beginning, since this morning together. So, yeah. They'll just keep taking turns. And work together. (890 meter), the gap between break and peloton. That's around 3 minutes, as you said. Yeah, so that's 890 meters on a climb. I reckon when you get onto the flat sections of the course, it will be nearly around 2 kilometers. If they ride at 60 kilometers an hour average, 3 minutes is 3 kilometers, so around 2K in the flat. So they have got a decent gap. But it's going to be interesting how UAE are going to ride this stage.
Average speed so far, 34.4. And approximately 5K to go up to the Dünserberg.
So again, if anybody has any questions for us, don't hesitate to ask. You can see lots of Del Toro fans in the live chat here. Lovely to see you guys all watching from all around the world. And I hope you're enjoying these beautiful pictures we can see here from Austria. We have got German commentary. We have got 2 streams. So we've got the stage 5 and called the fünfte Etappe on the Austrian one. So in case you want to listen to the Austrian commentary, just head over to the other site, K19. We can see Bob Jungers here just increasing the pace a little bit at the front. Okay, what's Austrian national dish?
Austrian national dish. We've seen it quite often here at the interviews in the Finnish area that the athletes got handed in Kaiserschmarrn.
Kaiserschmarrn, yeah.
Yeah, that is one of a famous Austrian dish.
So Kaiserschmarn's like a bit of it's similar to a pancake, just...
But ripped in half.
Ripped, yeah, and a bit fluffier, I'd say.
Fluffier, yeah.
And you can eat it with apple mousse or jelly.
Jelly or, with sugar on it. So it's good.
And what about Wiener Schnitzel?
Yeah, that one also.
Wiener Schnitzel.
Well, now back to the cycling-related questions. And that's a question I wanted to ask Amelie, probably coming up next, then Ricardo Zeudel. is losing a bit of connection to...
Yeah, he looks like he's struggling a tiny little bit. Yeah, and that gap is getting a little bit bigger. Maybe maybe they just increase the tempo at the wrong moment, and he can just find his rhythm now and try and get back onto those front leading 3 riders. The peloton has lost, or the time gap has been reduced by 1 minute and 8 seconds within the last 30 minutes of this race. So UAE have definitely increased the tempo behind, but Bob Jungels is still looking good on this climb, and yeah, Ricardo Teudl is just losing a little bit of time here. He just needs to find his rhythm and try. Oh,
also Sean Quinn here,
yeah,
losing their connection towards Vergalito and Bob Jungels. Also here, a deciding moment. But it is going to be a hard one for those 2 up front to keep that gap open of 2 minutes and 32 seconds. But Bob Jungels, as we just have seen so far in that stage, is looking pretty good. He is looking smooth on the bike. Not many movements here. And yeah, trying to really pull up there in a certain kind of manner. Vergalito, Alpecin, Bob Jungels.
He is definitely struggling a tiny little bit here to keep on the wheel, Vergalito. Interesting tactics here from Bob Jungels. Maybe he's trying to go and do this one solo, or and we can see Felix Großschartner here on the front, now also riding for his teammate Isaac Del Toro.
And they are really just trying to rip the peloton in half here with that high tempo they're setting onto the surface, or laying onto the surface.
Yep, you can see some riders struggling at the back there, really just digging deep, trying to hang on to this peloton. And UAE at the front. Now our leaders have been reduced down to 2 riders, Vergalito and Jungels.
2 minutes and 30 seconds. And they are nearly up there. 2 kilometers are still to go, and with the aerial footage again we can see Bob Jungels up in front. It is Amelie Cooper is our expert here, and she is also the expert and looking onto the chat and trying to answer every bike related question we can get. So if you have any equipment questions, or especially equipment or nutrition questions which are crucial for the pro athletes we're seeing here on the screen, don't hesitate to ask her. She knows pretty much everything. What I cannot say about me here. But we really enjoying that day here in our commentator booth, and we're really enjoying that performance of Bob Jungels and Luca Vergalito. With smoke. It is really kind of a Tour de France feeling.
It's not very nice to the riders when you got those smoke bombs on the side of the road. They're already breathing very heavily, the very high heart rate, and then you've got not necessarily a nice thing to have on the side of the road, but it's great to see fans out supporting the riders. So Bob Jungels just stood on the front here. Yeah,
and Luca Vergalito is also quite kind of working or fighting to stay on the back wheel of Bob Jungels, and now we are back with UAE, and you can see Felix Großschartner in the best Austrian jersey. Unfortunately lost the GC yesterday and has a gap to his teammate of Isaac Del Toro, approximately about 3 minutes. He is right now placed in 10th position in the GC. So he is now in the domestique role, I would say, for Isaac Del Toro, who is on a good way to secure himself also that GC at the Tour of Austria. It will be the first Mexican who bring home that red jersey.
I think we're around halfway up this climb, the last category climb of the day.
We are nearly done at this climb. I would say there are not many meters are left.
And it flattens out with around 2k to go, and then the last k ramps up a little bit, averaging 9.2%.
2 minutes and 45 we just heard in the radio.
So I've got a question here if we know what the red recovery drink is that the riders have after the stage. It's usually a cherry drink. It helps recovery. The riders also quite often have a couple of gummy bears just to get the glucose into their body, into their system quickly after the stage, and then they'll go onto the rollers and normally have a recovery drink, protein drink, shower off, and then they'll have their first solid meal with carbohydrates and protein to refuel the tanks after a hard day of racing.
Back with the peloton. And Felix Großschartner even got time to wave towards the fans here while doing the leading work right now.
Good to see. He must have gotten his legs back today and recovered well after yesterday's hard stage for him.
Here we have the information again. 149 inhabitants, and then I guess all of them are along the track or along on the side of the road and cheering for the Tour of Austria. And here we are with the aerial, our helicopter pictures. Two hours and 24 minutes in the race, and they are soon up on the Dünserberg.
Yeah, so the gap has come down. We're at 2 minutes 42 at the moment. Will it be enough? I'm not quite sure. But
I'm also not quite sure if that will be enough, because we know there are 2 to 3 spicy little uphills left here on that stage, which are not in any category, but
Bob Jungels is a great time trialist, and maybe they'll be able to stay away.
Two minutes and 23 seconds. It's shrinking. The gap is shrinking.
Luca had a good race yesterday. Top 10 finish. Came 9th on the Kutai Summit finish. 1:27 behind Isaac Del Toro. And Bob Jungels came 23rd, 7:20. So Bob Jungels wasn't or isn't a threat for the GC. As I mentioned before, Luca Vergalito is around 4 minutes behind. That's why UAE started chasing when
to chase him.
Gap got to 3 minutes 40.
Here we have Sean Quinn from EF having 15-second gap to Bob Jungels and Luca Vergalito, and they are right now in the last 500 meters of that category 1 Dünserberg KOM.
Yep.
Which gives one of them, either Bob Jungels or Luca Vergalito, 12 points.
12 points, but they can't really
use them.
Yeah, they can't really use them. So they'll just... It's going to be a hard task. Now there are only 2 riders, 60k to go. Oh, interesting
Ryan
costume.
Mysterio, that was. Probably for Isaac Del Toro.
Yeah, look how stretched out this peloton is now. I mean, how many riders are in this group?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
20 maximum?
With 20, 30, 20 up to 30.
Yeah.
Probably in that peloton, and we are right now 75% done of all the vertical meters of today. 922 are still waiting, or 900 are still waiting for the riders.
So they've just come over the top of the KOM. Didn't contend for the point. Now they've just got to get down this descent, try and recover a little bit, and see if they can hold this gap to the finish.
Two minutes and 24 seconds. Still in the lead, Felix Großschartner trying to pull in his, we can say that, leader right now, Isaac Del Toro.
Yeah, Isaac Del Toro is the leader of UAE for this tour, because they weren't quite sure at the beginning. They did come here with 2 main leaders, Felix Großschartner and Isaac Del Toro, but yesterday's stage, yeah.
It was pretty much the deciding stage, because before yesterday's stage started, there was a gap between Großschartner and Del Toro, but just 6 seconds. So,
yeah.
And since yesterday, we know it's a 3-minute gap.
So the peloton nearly coming to the top of this climb. One minute 50, we have dropped under the 2-minute mark now.
And the break is already up at Dünserberg.
And one of the breakaway riders, the EF riders, just come over the top. But I think he'll be caught by the bottom, or he'll just sit up now and wait for the peloton to catch him.
So this is the KOM Dünserberg for the peloton. And
So
there are not quite many riders left. We've seen Hermann Bernsteiner again in the peloton, and here Bob Jungels and Luca Vergalito on their way down towards Feldkirch.
Oh!
Getting chased by Ricardo Zeudel, who is up for rejoining them in the next few seconds.
Well, that's a great ride there by Ricardo Zeudel. He must have just realized that the first acceleration from Bob Jungels was a bit too much for him. He just set his own pace, and he's managed to rejoin the front of the race, which is great, because now we've got 3 riders up front.
That was a great recovery also from Ricardo Zeudel, and now having the pictures of the finish area here in the heart of Feldkirch. It's also 100 years of Greater Feldkirch, so not just a party for road cycling, also a party in a cultural point of view.
Yeah, and lots of fans enjoying the sun here, as the riders will come through the starting area actually soon for the second intermediate sprint.
2.5 hours are current racing time. We had the start here in Feldkirch earlier today with a neutralized zone approximately 2 kilometers, and then the race was on. Here, seeing all the jerseys. Think of Advarix, Bora Hansgrohe, Lidl Track, EF Education, Easy Post. Beautiful pictures from Vorarlberg.
Yeah, and great atmosphere down here.
Meets Tour of Austria. Wie ist es hier zu sein?
Es ist schön mal nicht Veranstalter zu sein, sondern einfach zuzuschauen und Leute zu treffen. Es ist aber für mich auch immer eine Möglichkeit, Neues zu sehen, neue Ideen zu sehen, mich auch mit Kollegen auszutauschen. Und bei schönem Wetter hier im Feldkirch ist eigentlich immer schön.
Wie hat sich denn die Tour of Austria in Ihren Augen in den letzten Jahren entwickelt?
Ja, ich habe natürlich viel am TV zugeschaut, hat sich sehr gut entwickelt. Ich habe gerade gestern gedacht, Kütai, das hat richtig cool ausgesehen. Viele Leute, sportlich sowieso auf einem hohen Niveau. Immer mehr gute Teams, da ist es eng vorne, da wird richtig Rad gefahren. Und wenn dann auch die Zuschauer noch kommen, dann passt es zusammen. Weil die Landschaft, die habt ihr sowieso in Österreich, die Fahrer eben auch. Und wenn die Zuschauer noch kommen, dann passt es.
Wer ist denn jetzt Ihr Tipp für heute?
Der als Erster übers Ziel fährt.
Sehr diplomatisch.
Ja, ist schwierig zu sagen, weil Gesamtklassement ist so ein bisschen wie entschieden. UAE wird Tore nach Hause fahren, davon gehe ich aus. Und dann ist die Frage, lassen die jemanden fahren am Schluss oder nicht? Ich denke, es wird wahrscheinlich einen Sprint einer größeren Gruppe geben und dann sind halt die UAE schon wieder favorisiert, denke ich.
So also the tour director of Tour de Suisse at the interview, and he really enjoys watching the Tour of Austria, especially with the pictures provided yesterday at the mountain stage finish Kütai, and with all the spectators here and the landscape, it's incredible, and he's happy that it was possible to have a little meet up with Tour de Suisse and Tour of Austria, and he said the predicted winner is that one who crosses the finish line at first.
Here we got Ricardo Zeudel here again, just distanced a tiny little bit on the descent. I hope he can make it back to the front two riders in time. They're not in sight at the moment, but hopefully he'll be able to make it back. And then you got a trio up front, and it will give them definitely more chances of staying away as we come into the final 50k of the race. We're coming into Feldkirch, where we've got a intermediate sprint with bonification seconds 3, 2 and 1, but they don't really matter here for these riders. As we can see, the peloton now
is also stretched there again, and 2 are up front here. So
yep, motorbike riding at 100 kilometers an hour.
And this is Felix Großschartner for sure. In front again, followed by... It's hard to say. I guess also by one of his teammates, and we are back with the break with Luca Vergalito also struggling here a bit to keep the back wheel of Bob Jungels on the downhill towards Feldkirch.
I hope that Ricardo Zeudel makes it back to the front of this race, because he did a brilliant climb just then, just pacing it. And yeah, you can see that there are still some wet patches on this descent, so it's still a little bit scary for the riders as we are coming down into the town now.
Oh, that is also a tricky part here with copperheads in the middle of the road. But all of those crucial points or pretty dangerous points were discussed earlier on in the team meetings or in the riders briefing by any teams, and those two athletes are again at the end of the downhill going towards Feldkirch. Another 7k approximately to go, and then they are reaching the finish area for the first time before going towards Nanting on a loop then.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting where Zeudel is at the moment, the Austrian rider. I hope it's
Maybe we can probably just have a little look back there to see if Zeudel is fighting his way up to the two in the break.
This must have been from this morning where the...
Yeah, it's RANKWEIL where they are. This is the home to the team Vorarlberg headquarters, a service area and a shop, and that basilica is also pretty unique, same like the Rathaus. And we also got a list up there right now which riders are abandoned the race. Unfortunately, Jensen Blowright, Will Holmes, Birmin Benz, Zombo Polumbi, Eric Vetter, who also did an amazing job yesterday, was in the break for quite a long time. Magnus Sobo, Maximilian Schmidbauer from WSA KTM Graz, and Bartlomiej Broch from Run and Race Vibertech. And here we are with the peloton again. Still UAE pulling in the front.
Yeah, so Nicolas Vinokurov has, if he comes to the finish line, then he will win the KOM classification jersey, as we have finished the categorized climbs now. So all he has to do is make it to the finish line.
And also interesting stat is that in the last 5 years, UAE won 5 stages at the Tour of Austria, and Ineos. Now, UAE won 6 stages of the Tour of Austria, and Ineos won 5 stages. Maybe Bob Jungels is up to to also get 6 stages, 6 stage wins for Team Ineos. We are now under 50 kilometers to the finish, and still here those two up in front.
But still no Ricardo Zeudel in sight.
Maybe he lost, or he's dropped from the break here.
Yeah, working well together up here in the break. They have to because, you know, still got 50k of racing to go. So, a good hour of racing still in the Tour of Austria on the last stage here. Bob Junger is just shaking his legs, trying to loosen them.
Letting now do Lukas Ebenbichler a bit of a job.
UAE Emirates hat bisher diese Tour of Austria dominiert und wir sind live im Fernsehen. Können wir die Fahnen nach oben geben? Feldkirch, put the flags up in
They just recognize that they are on the big screen here and showing us here in the stream what the fans in the finish area are capable. But that ones are really capable of showing us how it's done is the peloton, especially UAE. Felix Großschartner is back at the supporter car, grabbing bottles and fuel for his teammates, for sure, with the number one. He was last year in the GC at the fourth place.
Yeah, I think the breakaways got around 2 minutes gap over the peloton. So there's still a bit of hope that they can stay out ahead this breakaway.
And those two in the break looking still fresh. The huge mountains are behind them.
Yeah.
Now it is
Team time trial between these two.
yeah, team time trail, yeah.
Yeah, so the Tour of Austria is a UCI 2.1 stage race. A 2.2 means that club teams can also race. So 2.1 is a higher level above 2.2. And if it's a one-day race, then it would be called a 1.1 or a 1.2 race. And because the Tour of Austria is a stage race, you've got a 2 at the front, so 2.1. And there are no club teams. No club teams are allowed to ride this Tour of Austria. Only continental teams and World Tour teams. And yes, as I mentioned before, there are bonification seconds up for grabs in Feldkirch at the intermediate sprint, but it's 3, 2 and 1 seconds, and we just saw on the board there, I think the gap was around 2 minutes, I think I just saw. But these seconds don't really help these riders up front, nor do the points, because Isaac de Toro has already secured the sprint classification jersey.
Since probably 90 kilometers, those two are in the break. Once it started with 6 riders in the break, now we are with those two left here entering Feldkirch right now, entering the finish area for the first time. And also that one is a pretty crucial one. We got 2 pretty narrow turns here in front of the finish line, which we are seeing right now. Bob Jungels securing him those 3 bonus seconds ahead of Lukas Ebenbichler, and it is the first but also last crossing the finish line.
Yeah.
The next time they will probably sprint it out if they can manage to maintain that gap of 2 minutes 18 seconds. But as we've seen yesterday and the days before, if in that point UAE starts to pulling, it never works out pretty well for those in the break.
Yeah, so far the breakthrough has been caught within the last 10k. But let's see, maybe maybe the outcome will be different today. But it's also good for the riders to be able to see the finish line, the run into the finish line. It is a little bit technical here in Feldkirch with the cobblestones, so good for the riders to be able to see it once before it comes down to the sprint finish. Will it be the breakaway, or will it be a different breakaway that goes out? I'm not quite sure. Will UAE try and bring this break back? They're definitely controlling the gap at the moment. And
yeah, now it is EF Education, Easy Post up front doing the leading work, because we all know that Archie Ryan is in second position right now with 26 seconds, I guess, behind in the GC. So also he is for sure capable of trying to work in some seconds towards Isaac Del Toro, but
yeah, you never know. If EF Education managed to catch UAE off guard and Ryan Archie managed to get 30 seconds, it might suddenly get very interesting for the GC.
Here we are also with the peloton in the finish area, having right now an average speed of 35.7, and we still have 800 meters of elevation gain to go in the next 44.7 kilometers.
So it's the peloton coming through.
And leaving again, Feldkirch. Just a small little wave by them here. And here we are with Bob Jungels and Luca Vergalito again. And it is the first of those 4 spicy and painful little uphills coming up next. That one's not that hard. It is just
70 meters elevation.
70 meters with 5% gradient in it, but the next 2s are coming up. Are one with
around 200, 250 meters.
But steep.
Yeah, gradients do get up to 13%. And after a long day in the saddle, and Bob Jungels is trying to attack and go solo here.
Yeah.
That's a bold move. Very interesting move, actually. With still over 40k to go and still some flat sections where it's definitely advantageous to have 2 people up there, so you can have a bit of respite in the draft. But he is trying to go solo, the rider from Ines Grenadiers.
The question is if it is too
right
early
move.
or...
Yeah. But he is a time trial specialist. He has just won the time trial national championships.
Oh, that would be... But it is quite a big and huge task for Bob Jungels to stay out there alone for 43.1k, and as we know, it is still a few meters in elevation gain to complete there. But Luca Vergalito is also paddling pretty hard and putting in some watts there to breach the gap between him and Jungels from Aeneas. Maybe he can do it in that little downhill section.
Yeah, it's a very bold move here from Bob Jungels, but Luca is coming back, or the distance or the gap is staying pretty constant right now. So he hasn't given up yet.
No, he hasn't given up yet. Put his head in.
It looks like Ricardo Zeudel is around 20 seconds behind these 2 riders, and then the peloton is a further 2 minutes back.
But there's no hesitation by Bob Jungels. Now we could see the little turnaround move from him, looking where Luca is.
Yep, we've got 830 meters of elevation still to go. So no category climbs left, categorized climbs left, but still around 800 meters.
Approximately 50 meters right now, the gap in the city of Goofies right now. Oh, that's, yeah, I guess he's getting away with it. Luca Vergalito isn't able to breach the gap there, despite paddling pretty hard here. But Bob Jungels was just...
Yeah, Bob Jungels is riding away a tiny bit here.
17 days ago, the national championships were in Luxembourg, where he is crowned the national champ in ITT.
Yeah, now the question is, has he fueled correctly over the past 5 days, not only today? And will he be able to pace his effort now? 40k with UAE pacing behind. It's going to be a hard task.
A little bit of freewheeling here at the end of the peloton. Maybe the tactics right now for UAE, they probably know that Bob Jungels is up for a solo attack.
Yep.
They probably stop a little bit of working there, or are they surely up for taking home the 5th stage win here at the Tour of Austria?
Yeah, I think this is purely down to the UAE team now, also EF, but if UAE want to go for the stage, then they're going to want to keep this gap, maybe get it down to like a minute with 20k to go, and then they should be able to close it, and then maybe, yeah, try and bring it down to a reduced bunch sprint finish. They definitely don't want to catch this break too early, because otherwise it opens the race up again for new attacks. So just keep Bob Jungels, but he has got a 2-minute lead, but it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be, again, a nerve-wracking here in the final of the Tour of Austria 2025. 39.7k to go. Still a bit of vertical meters are on the list, but one is again here doing an amazing job. Bob Jungels, Aeneas Grenadiers up front, and we're again with the back of the peloton. With Giacomo Ballabio from Rinkhoff at Varix. You can see here, it looks a little bit like they put a bit of speed out of the peloton here. I guess they just let, but
yeah,
when you look at the time gap, it is 1 minute 47, so there is still high speed in the peloton. They're still pulling pretty hard to catch Bob Jungels, always looking back where Luca Vergalito is, but he is probably out here of that fight of closing the gap.
Yeah, the peloton's stretched out at the moment, and the gap is around 1.4k between Bob Jungels and the peloton. Yeah, this is a very bold move to go 40k from the finish solo, and the gap is now at 1 minute 37 as we are coming up to the next climb. Next climb is around 200 meters in elevation.
Always with pretty nice gradient, but still maxing out to, you said 12% at the top. Now looking back to Luca Vergalita, you can see it is approximately a 10 to 20 seconds gap already between Jungels and Vergalito. And Jungels is still looking pretty smooth, dancing a bit there on the pedals. And we're with Ricardo Zeudel, 25 to, like it is listed 25 seconds, but there is a bit more of it.
That's a bigger shame that he didn't manage to get back onto the group. He did such a good climb just before, and he just got distanced slightly on the descent. And, you know, when you got, I'm speaking out of own experience from yesterday's race, when you've got 100 or 200 meter gap on the flat and you've got a group at the front who are working together, then it's very tough to get back to the front, unfortunately. So maybe it's best for him just to sit up now, recover, have a last gel, and wait for the peloton to catch him, and then try and get a good result by sticking in the peloton.
Peloton, you can see EF with the bright pink helmet. That is Archie Ryan wearing the best rookie jersey, and here we have the time gap: 15 to Vergalito, 1 minute 35 to Ricardo Zeudel, and 2 minutes 35 to the peloton for Bob Jungels, and that is quite a big gap between between him and the others. And maybe if he can stick to that game plan he probably worked out in the morning, and everything works out well for him, equipment-wise and for sure also body-wise, then he could be up for a surprise today.
Yeah, we could be. The gap is at 2 minutes 35. We thought it was a minute 30, but yeah, 2 minutes 35 at the moment, with 36 kilometers to go. So we've got UAE Team Emirates and EF Education Easy Post pulling in the peloton. UAE obviously for Isaac Del Toro, and EF Education for Archie Ryan. They might want to try something on one of these climbs. Maybe they're not interested in going for the stage. Maybe they'll have a little GC battle out the back. Then we'll have 2 races going on today, one for the stage and one for the GC.
It is 36.3k to go. 2 minutes, and Bob Jungels is looking smooth on his bike there, working his way up. And just to talk a little bit about his position here, there's not much movement in the upper body, which indicates that everything is working pretty good, and he's still feeling fresh, right?
Yeah, he's looking very good on the bike. You can see his hips also staying nice and stable, and all the power is purely going through his legs. I mean, obviously every rider has a different riding style. Some people rock more left to right, and they can ride better. But yeah, he's got a really good riding style and looking pretty strong at the moment.
Going out of the saddle. Pretty much at the end of that climb. We're right now in it.
Yeah, we've just gone to just at the bottom slopes of this climb. Around 150 to 200 meters in elevation gain. And then we've got a bit of a descent, and then it looks like false flat, which will be quite challenging for Bob Jungels. And then another climb, and then we've got and then it actually goes downhill quite a bit before a little kicker, and then we descend and flat run into the finish.
With Luca, 39 seconds, 36 seconds. Here's the gap to Jungels, and also here a bit more movement in the upper body for Luca Vergalito. But still, Cadence is in a beautiful rhythm.
Yeah, and getting cheered on by the fans, so we've just surpassed the 3-hour mark now. And here we can see EF Education pulling at the front. So maybe they want to go for a stage win today.
In front is, yeah, EF Education with Archie Ryan. And you can see also on his back wheel with a bit of, yeah, can see the pain in his face already from UAE. Either Baroncini or Kovi. And on the back wheel, Rafael Maika, who did yesterday again a super domestique work for Isaac Del Toro, pulling him in to the last couple of meters for the sprint up to the Kutai.
Yeah, and Rafael Maika is obviously also third in GC at the moment, 47 seconds behind. So we've got Isaac Del Toro in the lead, followed by Archie Ryan, 29 seconds behind, and Rafael Maika with 47 seconds. Andrew August dropped 2 places yesterday. He's got a minute 47, and Felix Engelhardt is in 4th place with a minute 20.
Got a total here. And there is the peloton as we can see it. Catching Ricky there, waiting for getting caught. Also here, perfect day for him, perfect presentation one more time. He is the last winner of the Tour 2013 from Rinkov at Varex, current national champion in hill climb. A couple of weeks ago here it was in Tyrol, and now it is time for him getting caught by the peloton by Archie Ryan,
yeah,
Felix Großschartner, Alessandro Covi, Filippo Baroncini, and AJ August.
It looks like it's getting a bit warmer here. We're at 27 degrees now and riding in the sun, so getting hotter. Important now to keep your fluids up because the riders will obviously be sweating more.
Trying to bring some salt into the system.
Yeah, precisely. Yes, Bob Jungers just took a bottle and another gel, it looked like.
Fabian yesterday said they're also using vinegar if they're cramping.
Yeah, cramping's a big a problem, shall I say, when it gets hot, and especially when it comes towards the end of the races. After the 3-hour mark, if your legs start cramping, then you know you just can't really do much.
2 minutes 37 and nearly a minute gap between Junges and Vergalito. Another heartbeat final coming up, or is it like a written script for Bob Jungels to bring home that title or bring home that stage win for Aeneas Grenadier? It would be the 6th stage win for them over the last 5 years.
Well, so far it's still looking good for Bob Jungels.
But what would be the better option here for Luca Vergalito? Trying to close the gap to Bob Jungels, or just sit in here, wait a little bit until he got caught by the peloton and try to secure his position in the GC?
I don't think he's going to be able to make it back to Bob Jungels. He's looking really strong at the moment, and he has already got a minute gap, so maybe you could just try and stay in second place, which would obviously also be a good result. Or he decides to sit up, refuel, and then try and stick with the peloton. But I can't see him coming back to the front of this race.
But he's still got also a minute and 40 seconds gap to the peloton, which is also quite a comfortable gap for him, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
For working out or for bringing that one home, he has to be in a proper condition for sure. Because when we see EF Education is forming themselves, Ineos is forming themselves, and for sure UAE is also here. There you can see also Jaco and Lula probably bringing Felix Engelhardt in a good position with 4 free head strong of the team.
Yeah, for sure. Felix Engelhardt could be a very interesting rider if it comes down to a reduced bunch sprint today. But the gap has increased by 19 seconds over the past 15 minutes. So
he is working quite hard here to get away from the peloton, even more than he is already. 2 minutes 41.
So he's just finished that little climb, and he has now got a around 4 to 5k descent, where he'll be able to maybe have another gel and try and recover. And then it goes into a 6k falls flat with around 1 to 2% gradient before it ramps up at the end for around 100 meters in elevation. So Bob Jungels from Ineos Grenadiers out front. He attacked at the beginning of the day.
Yeah,
on the first
he was
climb.
Right away in the breakaway group. From the early start on right after the neutralized zone, 2 of them tried to get away. They got caught pretty early, and then while the others got caught, he used the momentum with 4 other competitors and went away there, out there for more than 100k already. And Luca Vergaletto in second position. Whom we're seeing right now here going into the next downhill. Still 1 minute of 30 seconds ahead of the peloton. And Bob Jungels is entering Nenzing, another well-known city here. Also stage village for the Austrian Rad Bundesliga Cycling League, and it's always on the 1st May. GP Nenzing, Labor Day cycling celebration. And they're combining a bit sport with cultural traditions.
You can see the motorbike even struggling to keep up with Bob Jungels there on the descent. Quite tricky, narrow roads here to descend on. But at least the roads are dry now, so it's perfect conditions.
30k to go. Amelie, I guess now it's time for us to set our bets here.
So who are you going for today?
I believe in Bob Jungels for sure, because he did an outstanding job here. I hope for him everything is working out well. Yeah.
I mean, the gap is 2 minutes 30 with 30k to go. I think it's just whether or not UAE want the stage win or not. So it's a tough one.
What's your guess?
Yeah. I think they're gonna bring it back.
You think they're gonna bring it back? 2 minutes 28 here, and we are in the downhill, and Lukas Ebenbichler also is going over 90 kilometers per hour here. 1 minute 20 the gap towards Bob Jungels. There are still 425 meters in elevation to go, and
yeah, now they're hitting this false flat section. So now they've just got to get into an aero position, try and save as many watts as possible, and just put their head down and ride all out, which is easier said than done. At the
biggest gap we had between the breakaway and the peloton per stage here at the Tour of Austria was 4 minutes and 1 seconds at the first stage, and we have now the biggest one of a kind gap of 3 minutes and 48 here at the last stage. So it is probably also the tour of breakaways, you can say that, and the tour of early breakaways and the tour of long out there's.
Yep, every single day we've had a breakaway go pretty much at the beginning of the stage. And today I think it's the first day when we've had a solo break. A rider trying to go solo. So here he is, Bob Jungels.
Still 2 minutes and 40 seconds, 28k to go. Fueling himself here on that hot flat part. Oh, that is amazing. That is a well-deserved final for sure for the Tour of Austria. And
so Bob Jungels is almost 2 kilometers ahead. The peloton have just finished the descent, and they are now also on this flatter section. Between the two little hills, the next hill is 150 meters roughly. Elevation and around 2k long. But we've still got 400 meters of elevation to go.
Yeah.
That's not flat.
Not flat, 27 to go. An average right now 36.1, and Lukas Ebenbichler is not looking that good anymore.
He's struggling.
He is struggling. 1 minute 34 seconds. He lost another 15 seconds towards Bob Jungels.
And it's not looking quite as aero anymore on the bike. He just shouted something at the motorbike. I couldn't quite understand what he said. But he is keeping the gap constant to the peloton and to Bob Jungels. So he's staying nicely in the mid-ground here.
Also, luckily there's no wind for them on that flatter part. It would be a pretty tough one if they got headwind also here, but as we can see, Bob Jungels is racing another race here.
Yeah.
Now he is in full time trial mode.
I think he's been out solo for 17k now, is it?
Yeah.
Roughly 17k out. And 26 to go. So still a big task ahead of him. But he has got 2 minutes 40. And the gap is staying pretty constant, so maybe looking good for Bob Jungels.
That's looking good, and I believe so that he is bringing that stage home, and probably also our spectators in the stream can put in their bets and telling us who they are thinking is going to win that stage 5. Two minutes 50. Keeping that gap wide open. 25.3k to go. And also 1 minute still between Verga Lito and the peloton.
Yeah, Bob Jungels is quite a tool rider, 1m89, and according to Pro Cycling Stats, he weighs 70 kilos, so quite a big time trialist. But the likes of Filippo Ganna, they're also big riders and great time trialists. And he has been racing in the World Tour since 2013. The 32-year-old. So, got a lot of experience. That's for sure. So the gap is still at 2 minutes 52, 24.5 kilometers to go. UAE is riding on the front at the moment, but the gap isn't really coming down, so So 3 hours 18 into the race with 24k to go. That means we'll be in the finish line around half an hour, I reckon. So maybe it'll just be under 4 hours this stage.
But also Galito keeping that gap constant to the front and to the back.
Maybe UAE have decided that 4 stages of the 5 stages is enough for them and they want to let another team grab the stage, or are they gonna bring this gap down? I've got a feeling maybe it might be looking good for Bob Jungels.
Not much of a movement there by Bob Jungels. 2 minutes 52. The gap. Always jumping a little bit around. 2 minutes 49. And he is at the bottom of the last real climb here. 360 meters of elevation gain.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really big ride by Bob Jungers as we come to the finish line atmosphere. They're all waiting for the arrival, but who will cross the finish line first? Bob Jungers?
Bob Jungers.
Or Bob
No,
Jungers? You say
no.
Bob Jungers?
It is Bob Jungers.
He did say in the interview at the start of the stage that he wanted to go for the stage.
And he's up for something there in the morning. And as we clearly can see, he is up for something. And 22k to go at 2 minutes and 45. It is the gap right now, and he is halfway in.
Vergalito is losing a little bit of time though now. I think he might be caught soon.
Yeah,
Only
that's
got
just
45 seconds
yeah.
to the peloton. Yeah, so we're heading on to the final climb now. I think Bob Jungers is already on the... Yeah, there's one more climb after this one.
Yeah, but just a little one after this one, not too much.
No, so he's got around 100 meters of climbing left on this climb, and then it's flat along the top, and then around 5 kilometer descent, and then a tiny climb of 70 meters. And then when he's finished with that climb, he's got 10k to the finish line.
And nearly 3 minute gap already. We've seen that climb before, and on that climb he was with Luca Vergalito. Now he is alone.
Yeah.
They're getting cheered on. The fans are incredibly supportive for the athletes, but as he said before, with that smoke, it is not that nice for them. Jaco Elula is up now.
Maybe riding Felix Engelhardt, which the final could suit him today, but the gap is nearly 3 minutes. With 21k to go, and when Bob Jungers attacked, I think the gap was around 2 minutes.
Yeah, around 2 minutes something there.
Yep, you see.
He was able, for sure, to bring in, to build up nearly 1 minute.
You just saw a glance of Isaac El Toro just sitting on the wheel of his teammates.
We're having a little news from the finish.
Es sind die letzten Kilometer der diesjährigen Rundfahrt und Feldkirch ist am Beben. Marco Czarnik und Markus Ernstberger machen eine Bombenstimmung vor Ort und wir warten auf den Sieger der 5. Etappe hier bei der Tour of Austria in Vorarlberg.
So the atmosphere is cooking in the finish area. Those two hosts are building up the crowd for an amazing finish coming up.
And very interesting, the gap has increased by 1 minute 15 over the last 30 minutes. So Bob Jungers is doing quite an incredible ride here.
But does it indicate that they are just trying to bring home all the cheesy top contenders in the peloton to secure themselves those top positions?
Maybe we might see an attack of Archie Ryan on this final climb to try and distance Isaac Del Toro, but it looks like EF might be trying to set something up here.
Jaco Elula right now.
Also still got a rider from Team for Adelberg up there. And VSR as well.
Felix Großschartner smiling a little bit here.
And referee Mike is telling him maybe to stop running next to them, because the riders do get a little bit nervous sometimes when the spectators start running next to them. And here Bob Jungers is getting final bottle.
We have right now 20 Ks to go to the finish. 94% of all vertical meters are done, and
yeah, so it's done over 3,000 meters of climbing so far. Well, around 200 meters to go in climbing. Yeah, the first pro victory for Bob Jungers was in the National Championships of Luxembourg in 2012. So 13 years since his first victory.
Just 20 seconds, not 20 seconds between Vergalito and the peloton, so he is going to be catched pretty soon, in any moment.
Yeah, but this is actually looking very good for Bob Jungers. 2 minutes 48, still the gap. And he has almost made it to the top of this climb. And he's got a descent, and the peloton won't be able to gain much time back on the descent. And then hopefully he's got enough power to power up the final climb, and then he's got a 10K time trial to the finish.
Also yesterday he had enough power to put pressure on Isaac Del Toro, and now it is the time in the next few seconds where Vergalito is getting caught by the peloton after also a nearly more than 100K ride out there in the break.
So it looks like he's hitting the descent now, Bob Jungers. And needs to try and recover for the last little climb of the day.
$18.7K to go. He knows that downhill for sure. You've been there once, 3 hours and 29 minutes, 3.5 hours in the race, 3,388 or more than 3,600 meters in elevation gain. We're on the schedule today, and now it is just one more little hop up.
1.5K roughly, it looks like. Gets up. 8% is a max gradient.
160 vertical meters to go there, and then it's flattened out towards the finish. 2 minutes 51.
You will just be looking at the kilometers now, hoping that they go by as quickly as possible, because I think he'll be in a world of pain at the moment, because 5th day of a stage race, whole day in the breakaway, and now is on a 40K solo ride. Quite impressive.
But would it be somehow possible for the peloton to catch him? I don't think so. That is quite a big gap between them. It also could be that Bob Jung is starting to struggling. Then there will be a slight chance for them. But looking at him right now, with that cadence, with that speed, with that precision on the bike, it is kind of...
At the moment, it's looking very good for Bob Jungers, but things can change very quickly. You know, if he starts cramping up on the last climb, then those final 10K will feel like 100K. And the gap will come down then very quickly. But if he keeps riding like he is, then I don't see the peloton coming back in the next... In 16K, bringing back 3 minutes. That's a lot to ask for.
Yeah, you know, rule of thumb, you said, say 1K in 10 minutes. 1 minute in 10K.
Yeah,
so,
1 minute in 10K.
Sorry, 1 minute in 10K.
Yeah. So we got Felix Großschartner on the front team. But obviously looking very good for the UAE team. They've got Isaac Del Toro in the GC, leading the GC.
He's just leading 26 seconds ahead of Archie Ryan. So if Archie Ryan is about to start another attack here and
because they
is able to get away from the peloton, then UAE have for sure be quite quick in reacting then.
Yeah. Because EF haven't really tried an attack yet. So maybe they will try something on this mini little kicker, but Isaac Del Toro is such a strong rider, and you saw it in the last couple of finals yesterday and the day before, how he's got this big kick on him, and the punch when he really needs to put the power down, he can.
"14 kilometers to go. 2 minutes 49.
Yep, gap is staying constant. And 3 hours 33 of racing done so far. So Bob Jungels isn't a threat, obviously, for the GC standings. He is 9 minutes behind on the GC. And he has got around 4K to go before the road ramps up again.
"82, 80 kilometers per hour for Bob Jungels."
Yeah, it's a 1.7 kilometer climb at a gradient of 5.9%.
But the gap is shrinking a bit.
But the gap
is not quite big.
The gap is over 2 kilometers.
But the gap in distance-wise, as you said it right, is over 2 kilometers right now.
So over 2 kilometers on the descent or on the flat. So when we got the hill, it will be around 900 meters maybe. So less than 13 kilometers to go for Bob Jungels.
And he's still looking amazing.
Yeah, still looking very strong.
And also the peloton is still pulling here with Felix Großschartner now in the lead in second. Glued to his back wheel, Archie Ryan. A bit of freewheeling behind Felix. Two minutes 45. But as we all can see, we are in the downhill right now. And Bob is starting his last little climb up for a 162 meters of elevation gain. And you can see how big tangled the peloton is already due to the high speed section going down here. And Bob Jungels is on his way up, 2 minutes 36. Still the gap and 11.8 kilometers to go. It is not that far, but he still has to pretty much dig deep to keep that gap open to bring that home.
Yeah, he's still got to get over this next climb, this 1.7k long climb. And if he's still got a gap, if his gap's still over 2 minutes, then he should definitely make it to the finish. But you can see the pain in his face there. Really digging deep.
Unibet here in the frame at the end of the peloton.
Yeah, Isaac just at the front of the peloton, being protected by his teammates, staying out of trouble, and ready in case somebody attacks, you know.
Somebody,
like
especially Archie Ryan.
Yeah.
Because Raphael Majka will not attack on his own teammate here. He is in the third position in the GC. And here we have the right timing, 2 minutes 30 here.
Yeah. And we've got 25 riders roughly in the peloton behind, chasing. And he is on the final climb, on the final ramp.
Nearly up there, so a few hundred meters are missing here on that climb. We are soon hitting the 10k mark. 11k are 10.9. Be exact. And Felix Großschartner again doing the leading work.
At the moment, it looks like UAE is just keeping the pace high. So I don't think we're going to see any attacks out of this group at the moment.
But if so, then we surely can say Ryan Archie is somehow involved in it.
Yeah. If, then I reckon it will be an attack from Archie Ryan.
Martin Messner, WSA KTM Graz here. Also did pretty well yesterday on the Queen stage. It's still in there in the peloton, and we are with Bob Jungels.
10k to go.
10k to go. Now we are in.
Now we're hitting the descent.
So from now on,
it's looking very good for him.
It's looking very good. From now on, it is
pretty much goes downhill until now. It's a bit steeper downhill for the first 2k, and then around 5k. Also, a tiny little bit downhill, and then it's flat to the finish. So looking very good for Bob Jungels here. Attacked with over 40k to go after the breakaway.
The Jungels is more than 110 kilometers alone out there.
But in the breakaway first with 3 other riders.
Yeah, and if he is able to manage that breakaway, he is setting a new record, because nobody ever before has been out there for such a long time at the Tour of Austria. So it's more than 110k, and it is going to be the record for the longest solo.
Yeah. Yeah, I think nothing else happens now. Bob Jungels has got this in the bag. .6K to go and 2 minutes 27 the gap. 3 hours 41 of racing so far. The time trial specialist, Bob Jungels.
Yeah, 2 minutes 28, 8.4K, and I'm a bit nervous for Bob Jungels here in the aerodynamic position. Really digging deep.
Now the peloton's also on the descent. And there was no attack just then, so I can't really see much changing in the GC either.
Jaco Elula is right now pulling up front.
Still got a rider from Unibet in there. Yeah, Bob Jungels just digging deep now, out front. 2 minutes 20 the gap. It's come down, but they can't catch a 2 minute gap in 7K.
That's impossible. They just can pretty much attack out of the peloton for GC, but not to win the stage here. 7.4K to go and 3 hours 42 minutes in that last and final stage of the 74th Tour of Austria. We've seen an incredible win by Felix Großschartner on the first stage. We've seen some outstanding performances by all the athletes, especially the strong Austrian continental teams. We've seen a stage win from Isaac de Toro on the second stage, the third stage, and yesterday at the Queen stage with more than 3,500 meters in elevation gain. And today we've seen a completely new game here at the last stage with Bob Jungels from Aeneas Grenadiers, like really setting the tone here with more than a 110K breakaway here at that stage. We've also got here nearly 3,500 meters in elevation gain with an Ors category, with a category 1. Everything was in it, and with that view to the city of Feldkirch, we will see soon.
Yeah, and we also had a big fight at the beginning of the day for the KOM jersey. And we also had 3 World Tour riders in the 4-man breakaway today, and also Ricardo Zeudel, who did an incredible ride, and he actually almost made it back to the front of the race. Unfortunately, just missed it at the bottom of the descent. But here you have Bob Jungels coming into the last 6 kilometers. Yeah, quite an incredible ride.
Nicolas Vinokourov securing him the KOM jersey with a points lead towards Emanuel Zangerle from Team Vorarlberg. He lost it yesterday at the Queen stage, and he was up for getting it back today. It would be a nice story to see him in the jersey after a great effort he put in the whole tour. But that effort we are seeing right now is completely dedicated to Bob Jungels for an incredible solo. 2 minutes 18. So we are in the last 5 kilometers.
Yep, last 5 kilometers now of the race. And I also can't really see much happening behind with the GC. So it also looks good for Isaac de Toro for taking
the GC.
Yep, in the Tour of Austria. But we're not at the finish yet.
We're not at the finish yet. We are not at the finish yet. Yesterday, the attacks started 2K before the finish.
Yep.
So we are still out there for about 4 more kilometers. And Bob Jungels, we can for sure say he is that one taking home that stage win.
Yep, this is looking very good for Bob Jungels. Very brave attack, I have to say. I wasn't quite sure if it was the right move or if he went too early, but he obviously knew what he was doing, and his paced his effort perfectly as it looks. And just over 4K to go.
That's for sure a statement right from Bob Jungels here, and we will see that one surely in some reels afterwards when he is crossing the finish line. And yeah, still full gas on.
Maybe we'll see the late attack from the EF riders, but I can't see actually Ryan distancing Isaac Del Toro now. He is 29 seconds behind, but Bob Jungels coming in. Last 3 kilometers of this race, a bit of road furniture now. Just got to stay upright now.
Yeah. Out of the saddle, on. The road to victory.
We've also got Jaco Lula pulling in the peloton, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they want to try and go for the second place, but I can't. They're not catching Bob Jungels now. No,
nobody is catching Bob Jungels, especially we're just 3K out here on that race. And still 2 minutes 17 gap. And I guess here in the peloton also a bit of waiting game is about to start, a bit of a chess game on wheels. Because if someone is trying to go for a better GC result, he has to go now.
Yeah, now. Otherwise, yeah, I can't really see much happening there in the GC. You got the whole UAE team there supporting Isaac Del Toro and helping him. And yeah. So less than 3K to go of the Tour of Austria 2025.
The last 2.5K with Bob Jungels.
Yeah,
really
in a world of pain right now.
in the red zone. Completely in the red zone, still digging deep.
But he'll be rewarded.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's for sure. After an incredible stage, we've seen here the first real stage in complete sunshine, we have to say that.
Yeah, beautiful weather here.
Beautiful weather, warm temperatures, 27 degrees. You just looked onto the weather forecast early on of the stage.
And 3 hours 49 into the race, so we'll be finishing the race in under 4 hours, averaging 37.3 kilometers an hour so far, and we've still got Felix Großschartner on the front, just riding for his teammate Isaac Del Toro.
And also we've seen another Ineos, Jaco Elula, Little Trek, also again up in the front. .6.
Yeah, now I think he can start enjoying it. Hopefully a motorbike or the team car has told him.
Flamme Rouge.
Ah, yes.
Flamme Rouge for Bob Jungels. After more than 110K out there alone. Setting a new record. That's...
Yeah, been alone for over 40K. And in a 4-man breakaway, he's now just gone past the Flamme Rouge. Yeah. Incredible ride with well over 3,000 meters of climbing, 110K in the breakaway, and then attack solo with 40K to go. Now he can really soak up this atmosphere in the finish. Yeah, he's already on the team radio. He now knows that he's done it.
He starts to smile.
Yeah.
Bob Jungels, he said it in the interview in the morning. It was a win with a call.
Yep, he wanted to go for the stage today, and he's for sure given us a great show, and now he can properly soak up the atmosphere in the finish line.
Yeah.
And really enjoy himself.
600 meters to go. Now he can hear everything. He can hear the crowd. He can see the finish area already. That is his moment to shine here. Bob Jungels from Aeneas Grenadiers just made history while winning that 5th and last stage of the Tour of Austria, of the 74th Tour of Austria. It is the longest solo breakaway we have seen in history at the Tour of Austria. More than 110k in the breakaway and more than 40k solo ride for Bob Jungels.
Yeah.
Heads down to an incredible show from him. That was amazing.
Amazing show, brilliant ride, and now obviously we've got Isaac Del Toro to come into the finish line. He's going to take the win, the general classification of the Tour of Austria, but yeah, just incredible ride just then by Bob Jungels.
But they are up for something more here.
Yep.
That is going to be a sprint.
We're going to be treated by another sprint for second place here.
Flamme Rouge also for them. Astana we see here. Felix Großschartner is still there in the lead. There we have Ryan Archie glued to the back wheel of Isaac Del Toro.
Yeah, they're all going for the second place here. All got a tiny bit of energy left on the
EF setting up. EF. And they're formatting themselves. They are sprint ready. All of them are sprint ready. Going into that crucial part. You have said it before. It is a deciding part of the finish line.
Yep.
If you're in front of that turn, you maybe are in front at the sprint.
Yeah. If you're ahead on the last turn, then you should be ahead on the finish line. It's very tight coming around these bends.
And here we are. EF is there.
Yeah, coming around final 200 meters.
Astana, and now it's on sprint. The
sprint finish for the line.
Second place, it is.
Is it going to be an EF education rider? It's coming around for second place.
Whoa.
Very tight. And there we have Isaac Del Toro coming over the line, and he wins the general classification of the Tour of Austria 2025. Yeah. Great race by the UAE team, but also hats off to Bob Jungels today. A very, very impressive ride.
That was an worthy end of the Tour of Austria for sure. Here with an incredible win by Bob Jungels, with an outstanding performance by Isaac Del Toro, securing himself the GC. Rui Costa from EF Education comes in second. He won that sprint battle.
Okay.
After yesterday's also incredible job he had, Rui Costa, former world champion.
And here's a slow-mo of Bob Jungels. Great that he could enjoy the final couple of meters and properly enjoy the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredible ride by Aeneas. Good team tactics in the breakaway. And then he went solo, 40k to go, or over 40k to go.
Yeah, and also Vermelsch Florian in third place, Anton Charming fourth place, Patrick Konrad from Lidl Trek, the Austrian, fifth place. Then Felix Engelhardt in 10th place here. Named like Hector Alvarez, 7th place. And Del Toro wins the final general classification after a second GC place at the Giro d'Italia. Now that here of the Tour of Austria, and seeing again the stage classification. Bob Jungels, 3 hours 51. Rui Costa, Florian Vermelsch, Anton Charming, Patrick Conrad, Giacomo Balabio, Hector Alvarez also performed pretty well here on that Tour of Austria, 18 years old, so he's also got a bright future ahead.
Yeah,
for sure. Asbjørn Elemos yesterday at the Queen stage was in the breakaway. Andrew August
also finishing top 5 in the GC, or in 5th place. But yeah, incredible ride from Bob Jungers.
Yeah, incredible.
He managed to hold off the UAE turn that was chasing him down.
So, 10 different nations of today's classification in the top 10, and here the general classification. Ryan Archie, Maika, Raphael, Engelhardt, Felix, August Andrew, and Kemna Leonard. These are Felix Großschartner, Austria in 10th position with 3 minutes and 18.
Yeah, and Felix Großschartner also best Austrian in the Tour of Austria. He obviously, I think, maybe came with ambitions of the general classification, but yeah, it stayed within the team.
Yeah, it wasn't his day yesterday, that's for sure. He hadn't had the legs, he said in the interview, and the only logic solution is to send then Isaac Del Toro for the GC.
Yeah.
And he was that one most capable, probably out of the position there to go for the GC.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
Great
wow.
Tour of Austria.
Tour of Austria 2025. Seeing the replay again here in Feldkirch with tons of people along the finish stretch. The sprint between Rui Costa and Florian Vermeersch. Little track with Patrick Conrad, also an Austrian, in the top 5 of today's stage. And then seeing Isaac Del Toro celebrating, and Archie Ryan also. Your resume of the Tour of Austria. We had everything in it. Yeah. Everything.
We had some great breakaways at the beginning, the first couple of stages with some Conti riders, making it very interesting, only being caught a couple of K before the finish line. And then it came down to some great sprint finishes. Isaac Del Toro obviously taking 3 stages out of 5, and UAE taking 4 out of the 5 stages. Yesterday's finish, obviously very exciting, and today Bob Jungers, incredible that he managed to get into the 4-man breakaway and yeah, ride solo to the finish. 40k to go.
40k to go, alone out there in the heat. You can say that because it turned really really warm later on the race, setting a new record for the Tour of Austria, being out there alone. We had not much crashes. We had everything coming safe and sound into the finish area, and due to the effort of those 4 strong Austrian continental teams who are up to create that Tour of Austria. Team Vorarlberg, Krinkhoff at Varix, WSA, KTM Graz, and Tirol KTM cycling team, and with an incredible Thomas Bubb making an effort, but a big job to do everything.
Great organization.
Yeah. And with a lineup.
Super strong teams.
Yeah. Yeah, and seeing the highlights here, it is our time to say goodbye, to say thank you very much for streaming in. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. The last 5 days with us. Thank you, Amelie, for being part of it. And we hope we see us again soon. And to all of you out there, have a great one. Enjoy the weekend, and goodbye.
Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed it.